Hello, everyone, and welcome back into It's All Connected, the Marvel, DC, and Star Wars recap show here on the Illuminerdi. I'm your host, Bryce West, a writer and editor for the Illuminerdi.com, and these are my co-hosts.
What's up, guys? Richard Nevins here, another writer, journalist for the Illuminerdi. Happy to be here, and all three of us are headphoned up this time, so we're good to go.
Yeah, we've got some gear today.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Caitlin Tyrrell, writer at the Illuminerdi, and me and Richard are also on the Marvel Watch Along on Thursdays at 11:40 p.m.
Episode 4 of Falcon Winter Soldier this week.
Oh boy, yep.
Halfway through.
Yeah, I can't. Can you believe that? Halfway through already. It's only been 3 episodes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we got spoiled early with 9 episodes of WandaVision. Well, we got the double dose the first week, so
Yeah, for sure.
Which was supposed to be triple. Can you believe that? It was supposed to be 3 episodes in 1 week.
I can't imagine getting an hour and a half of that show in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, I would have absolutely loved that, of course. Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine if they did that for Falcon? If they gave us 2 episodes of Falcon in 1 week,
Ooh.
like that would be like a 5-week show. That would. At that point, I mean, they've literally released a third in 1 week. So.
Right?
Exactly. I think they did it good this time around.
Yeah, you definitely needed that build because you had the base layer with the first episode really getting into the characters and kind of what's going on in the show. Second episode, which is a lot of people's favorites.
Yeah, oh
yeah.
Really had the pacing down, the action, the comedy. You had finally the meeting between Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then episode 3 was just jam-packed with all sorts of craziness.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, do we want to just get straight into last week's or the latest episode of Falcon?
Yeah. I guess spoiler alert for any of you who haven't seen it. If you haven't, go to Disney Plus right now and watch it.
Yeah.
It's
Where have you been?
Yeah, and then come back.
Where have you been for the last
Go to Disney
3
Plus,
days?
watch it, come back.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Well, it started where we finally got a little bit of an idea what's going on with the GRC. Nice, happy commercial. That was
I thought we were done with commercials after WandaVision.
Yeah, that was great. That threw everyone off.
Right.
But the commercial itself was so sketchy. They're like, when you disappeared, did you come back and your house was taken and your job was taken? Don't worry, you'll get it back. You're like, what about the people who have that now?
Yeah. Like, I love the way they did it in Spider-Man Far From Home, where May said she came back and it was just some random couple in there and they were all freaking out. I think that's a lot more realistic than this whole GRC thing.
Yeah, wait a minute. Just think about that for a second. Can you imagine, like, being that you were blipped, right? And I'm assuming that not really much time happened for them because they were dead, right? But
I think they came back and like it.
Yeah.
Like
so
passed for them.
Yeah. So basically, you're just like, I don't know, eating a bowl of cereal or something. And next thing you know, it's 5 years later. Some other people are in your house. Like that would be absolutely wild.
Crazy.
Yeah. You know, almost crazy enough for it to be in the real world today. But because
at this point,
I've accepted that anything is possible. But so if Thanos came down, snapped his fingers, I'd be like, "Yep, it's another Tuesday."
But you'd also be like, "Yes, I'll come back when all of this craziness is done."
Yeah,
right.
That's true. Yeah,
I'm sure you'd have people that wouldn't mind going away for 5 years.
Oh yeah, I'd much rather get blipped than have to
think
stay.
So? You know, I think me too.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that happened immediately after the commercial was we saw the GRC were essentially military personnel with this new Captain America leading the charge. So it went from supposedly sort of this like helpful group to we're storming the gates of this German cafe.
Whoops.
A lot of sketchiness there, and kind of that moment of, okay, I sort of get where the Flag Smashers are coming from. They're maybe not going about it the right way, but wow, this is not good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everything will get worked out. Captain America will save the day, right? He's Captain America. He's the good guy, right? He's a superhero.
Oh my God, when he screamed at that cafe owner that, do you know who I am? I'm like, he's German. He doesn't care. Most other places don't like you that much, probably.
Yeah, especially since you're like Captain America, like specifically America this time around. I mean, German Cafe, dude, for spitting in his face. That was solid.
I know. Well, I mean, maybe if he was Captain German, I would like understand a little
Captain
bit.
Germany.
Captain World.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like so like if he was Captain Germany and he goes, do you know who I am? They'd be like, yeah, okay, you should probably know who this guy is, but
right.
But I mean that was it was a really good scene because it showed the kind of douchebagginess of John Walker. I mean, they're doing a much better job showing John Walker being more and more of an asshole as we keep going through because we started off and it's just like, this is a really nice guy. Like, it's just like, there's like I'm supposed to hate this dude, and then as time has gone on, it's like, oh, okay, I see. It's like, his true colors have started to come out. So
it's SpongeBob being 10 minutes.
John Walker, they have the writers and Wyatt Russell and everybody have been doing a phenomenal job with John Walker. I am especially, I think John Walker is probably the character I am most interested in this show right now, just because we don't really know what they're doing with him, because obviously he's not going to be Captain America for a super long time, because eventually Sam is going to have to take up the mantle if the toy leaks or anything to look at.
For sure.
But it's just will he still be active after that? Like, will he just become the U.S. agent? Or
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Like, and then will he stay as a recurring character? I mean, because obviously that'd be really cool. And if they did, what team was he on? Was he on the West Coast Avengers or something like that, or Avengers International or something?
Something, I'm sure.
I know he was on one of the offshoot teams or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it would be interesting to see them do that, because we haven't really had any of the spin-off or the offshoot Avengers teams yet. Obviously, it seems like we're totally building up to Young Avengers right now, but
we did get White Vision.
Yeah.
We did get White Vision, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Avengers offshoot teams start popping up. I mean, I'm sure we're still going to have the Avengers 5, but I mean, the Avengers is a $2 billion name. I mean, why not make as many different Avengers franchises as you possibly can? So I think that would be a really cool place to see John Walker at some point after Falcon and Winter Soldier.
There is also always a possibility that if this character gets enough steam behind him, then we could have a spin-off. Because I mean, Hawkeye already has the spin-off with Echo, and that's not even close to coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't even come out till December probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember. Sorry about that, but I remember when Richard brought Echo up, and I didn't even know who that was. So, but it's just like, I don't really know who Echo is, but I'm down to see whatever Disney Plus show Marvel wants to give us at this point. So just like, by all means, let's have an Echo show. Let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah, I trust them pretty well on that. If they're like, this is a spinoff, you're like, cool, I'm in.
Yeah.
We've had 12 episodes of Disney Plus from Marvel so far, and it's basically killed it the whole time.
I mean, Marvel could honestly make a show called Kevin Feige sits in a chair and watches paint dry on a wall. and say it's set in the MCU, it's going to lead into the movies, and it'll be like, okay, I'm watching it.
The one thing that I am dying to see more than anything, the Louise recap. That has to come out someday. Like, Louise recapping the entire Infinity Saga as Louise.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that would be awesome for sure. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet, actually.
Apparently it exists.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
I
Kevin
didn't know
Feige
that.
said it exists somewhere. It just needs to be out there in the world.
Then why not release? I mean, what are they waiting for? Like,
Quantumania.
I was just going to say Quantumania, maybe.
I mean, but that doesn't. When does that come? Does that come out next year or 2023?
It doesn't have a release date yet, but what I've heard is either like late 2022 or 2023.
So I mean, by then the Infinity Saga is going to be pretty much gone.
Yeah, but it'll still work as marketing.
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Marketing and it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, getting back to Falcon and Winter Soldier,
we got
our tangent.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, Russell is killing it as Walker
U.S. agent.
because the second you met him, like, yes, we saw him at the end of episode 1, but the second you met him in episode 2, you're thinking there's something off about this guy.
Yeah.
And even though he does come in and seem like this great guy, you can't shake that feeling. And this episode really hit home with that because you had his anger issues pop up immediately.
Oh yeah.
And then you had him, like, at the end when he's like, we're going after them ourselves. And even Battlestar's like, do you really think they did this? Do you really think they broke out Zemo? Which, obviously, we know that they did.
Yeah.
But
do we think Battlestar is going to maybe switch sides, like maybe go against U.S. Agent at some point? Because I don't know if it was a lot, but he was really not quite feeling the U.S. Agent vibe this episode.
I mean, Battlestar really seems like, at least right now, like a character that's kind of dependent on U.S. Agent being there, and I feel like if you separate the two, I just don't really know if that would work. I mean, obviously, I'm not really familiar with the Battlestar character in the comics, so I don't really know how their relationship works. But it seems like with what they've done in the show right now, I mean, Battlestar is a character that is heavily connected to the John Walker Captain America. So I really don't think that you're going to have one without the other. I mean, maybe like if we were to say that they were to do like a U.S. Agent spinoff at some point, maybe I think it would be cool. Like if he does defect, like maybe he's like some sort of antagonist. Like he has to stop John Walker from doing something bad or whatever. Or, you know, because it's kind of hard though, because John Walker isn't an evil character. He's not a bad guy. Like he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
He's a jerk.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
He's not a full-on villain.
He's not a... Yeah, there we go. He's not a villain. Yeah. So I feel like you got to be careful with that as well. But, I mean, these characters are just so complicated, which I'm absolutely loving so far. But, yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a cool thing to see. I don't know if that's the direction that they're heading, but I'd be down to see it for sure. So
I almost feel like Battlestar is a requirement for John Walker to be Captain America, because it seems like he's there for a reason. He's there to temper John Walker. Yeah. So it almost feels like maybe part of John Walker becoming Captain America was, this guy is your partner.
Yeah.
Like he's a muffler of sorts almost.
He needs a babysitter to make sure he doesn't like do some like inhumane crap or whatever or something.
Go off the wall, you know, crazy.
Yeah, because he's not great on his own, it doesn't seem like.
No.
And
really?
Gonna assume they knew that going in.
Yeah.
Dude. I was like, you'd think they would have vetted this guy before they made him Captain Friggin' America, but
you would think the government. You would think the government. You would think the I almost did it again. You would think the government. You would think the government would do a lot of things, Richard. But
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, and I mean, I was thinking too. Besides U.S. Agent, I mean, can we talk about Helmet Zemo in this episode?
Yes.
Holy crap!
My new favorite dynamic is Bucky, Zemo, and Sam, because so many times Sam or Bucky agreed with what Zemo was saying.
This is the new chaotic trio in the MCU. We got Darcy, Jimmy Woo, and Monica in WandaVision, and now it's Sam, Bucky, and Zemo.
Yeah. And I gotta say, you know, the Zemo team up kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, we talked about it briefly in last week's episode, but it's not really something I thought about until one of you mentioned it. And so, yeah, the fact that they actually were teaming up, because up until this point, I just assumed, Zemo's going to be the villain. And he still could be a villainous character, but I really did not expect them to actually break Zemo out of prison and team up with him to take down the power breaker. Is that power broker? Or that whole group or whatever. I think that was definitely a really cool twist that they did.
Yeah. And the whole thing with Bucky, you know, sort of kind of telling Sam, like, what if I did this, but actually did it? You know, like, what if I broke Zemo out? And, you know, I haven't done it yet, obviously, but, you know.
Although he has.
Oh, he totally had. Yeah. Let me spin you a hypothetical.
Yeah. What I loved about it was obviously Zemo's plan. All Bucky did was drop off the note, which means Zemo could have broken out of prison this entire time.
Totally.
Well, I mean, you gotta think he doesn't have to pay rent. You know, he gets free meals every day. That he probably gets TV. So I mean, is it really that bad?
Do we think he was blipped? Do you
Ooh,
think
that's a
he
good
was
thought.
blipped or not?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I wouldn't have thought so, but anything's possible.
I mean,
he mentioned being in there for like 8 years or whatever.
So probably
yeah,
not.
probably would have been, let's see, 7 in MCU
Because I feel like that
Yeah.
probably would have been something that got mentioned, especially with the heavy importance of the blip in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody later mentioned that they got blipped,
Yeah.
so we'll get to that in a bit.
So yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like if he got blipped, it would have been mentioned in the show because pretty much the entire crux of this whole story revolves around the blip being a thing and how the people are dealing with it and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think that if he was, then it would have been something that he would have stated probably in dialogue or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think he was just biding his time because I think he wanted to see if the Avengers kind of came back together after the Thanos thing. Because obviously he can't be like, oh, I'll break them, but no, Thanos, we probably need to take care of that first.
Yeah, for sure.
The moment Bucky said there's more super soldiers, he was like, okay, cool, I'll bust out to help with that. Like, I very much think this is a character who they have their mission, and until it's complete, they'll like figure things out. But I'm so curious about what his plan is after like the super soldiers are defeated.
He's gonna betray them somehow.
Yes.
I can see him being like a season 2.
It's just a matter of how.
Is it to retire? Is it to create the Thunderbolts? Like, what's his plan?
I could definitely see him becoming probably like one of the main villains in season 2, like once this whole power broker stuff is over, and then maybe they do introduce the Thunderbolts in season 2, and then maybe spin them off into their own thing.
There's a season 2.
Yeah, I do
Which
think
it
that
seems
going
like there
to
will
be.
be.
Yeah. I mean, this is of course assuming that there will be, but I mean, this show really seems like I mean, WandaVision was one thing. I mean, that was definitely like pretty much, I mean, a one and done. You can't really do too much else with that. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, I mean, this definitely feels like that this is something that could go on for quite a few seasons. So especially with Sam becoming
a little
Captain
bit what
America.
happened. Yeah, I think it'll depend a little bit what happens with Bucky and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If one of them dies or something, like, then obviously then we're probably not getting a season 2.
Or if Bucky retires and actually has peace. Him and Steve just become next door neighbors and hang out.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say
about... We don't even know if Steve is still around.
Someone pointed out on one of the plaques that said he's retired in the Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah, in episode 1, right?
Yeah.
He's retired, but retired could also... I mean, retired doesn't necessarily mean that he's not dead, though. Like, like a veteran can be retired from service, but also have died like 100 years ago, right?
Right.
So,
and then one more thing.
Not to just completely disprove, but yeah, I feel like, I mean, it definitely seems like that Steve is not around because, I mean, with there being a new Captain America and all this stuff going on, I mean, obviously I know he's like over 100, but you would think that he would show up at some point.
For sure.
Which he still could.
I don't know. If I was him and I was retired, I wouldn't want to deal with all this nonsense.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that.
Because you're kind of like, I gave Sam the shield. I don't know what happened with that. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. He's just like,
he's probably just,
it's his problem.
I mean, they've talked about Lethal Weapon a lot.
Actually, no.
He's probably just going, I'm too old for this shit.
I take that all back. I want Captain America to be alive and like there be like a post-credit scene and like he's just like sitting back and like a lazy boy. He turns on the TV and he just goes...
Right?
like, really?
He turns on the TV, it's that thing, and he goes, nope. It just flips the channel.
Nope.
It changes to like the Food Network or.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Right.
Bucky's calling him. He's like, nah, sorry, man.
He's watching like what's the news network called in the Marvel universe?
WHIH.
Yeah, he's watching WHIH, and then he flips off and then watches like Chopped or something.
Totally.
Like I am nightmares. Too old for this.
Yeah. Oh, and then another thing I was thinking about in this episode too, Sharon Carter came back finally.
Oh yeah, that's
and
true.
we met her in Madripoor.
In Madripoor, yeah.
That's the first like official tease for the mutant stuff since Marvel got the property back, right?
I think that's the first canon thing that they've mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big one to do.
Well, and then people were talking about like I don't know if you noticed, but I guess there was like a X on like one of the gates or whatever, and they're like X-Men confirmed. Like
I'm sure people are looking for anything.
I mean, it looked
a lot
kind
of
like an
bars and
X-Men logo.
A lot of bars and restaurants are like from X-Men comics in Madripoor.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, it looked a little bit like an X-Men logo, but that's definitely not what they were going for. I don't think maybe it could have been an Easter egg, but I don't think it's going to actually have any sort of long-standing impact on the MCU.
Sure.
Just some random gate with an X on it or whatever.
That's how Mutants opens. It's that gate. You know?
Yeah, yep. And then I'm going to have to completely eat my words, you know.
Right.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, Sharon was a badass in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
She kind of was like the hero of the episode, pretty much. I mean, she really kind of saved the day a lot of the time because I mean, she bought them like all that time whenever they were talking to the
Dr. Nagel.
The evil scientist guy.
Dr. Nagel.
And then after that, Zemo kind of kicked ass as well. But yeah, I mean, if it weren't for Sharon, I mean, they probably wouldn't have been able to get out of there in time. But yeah, she was, and I think kicking ass was an understatement. I mean, that was incredible. Like I love that scene so much. I mean, that was just so cool. Just like seeing her like take out like 20 guys with who were like armed with like rifles and like maces or whatever. Like that was so cool. It was definitely probably one of my favorite scenes so far. Like action scenes so far on the show.
No, it's definitely an excellent fight scene. I don't know if I would necessarily say that she's the hero, because there have been a lot of fan theories that she might actually be Power Broker.
Oh yeah, that's something interesting.
I haven't heard those, so that's news to me. So that's interesting.
Well just her getting in the car with that person at the end could see something.
I think there's something. I don't know that. I think like maybe she's Power Broker, maybe she's working for him, maybe it's some CIA nonsense going on.
But then why help Sam and Bucky and Zemo?
Well, how did she know where to find all Power Broker's main scientist?
Right. Yeah.
Why is she in Hightown?
These are good points.
I don't know if she's Power Broker, but maybe she's like in with him somehow to try to get some.
I think she's involved in some way.
Then let me rephrase. She saved the day in complete badass fashion, you know. But I mean, regardless of I mean, honestly, that'd be a really cool twist if she were Power Broker. I'd honestly be kind of for that. I mean, that sounds like a really awesome, like completely divert, because obviously everybody thought the villain was going to be Zemo, and then to think like if somebody told me that the villain of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be Sharon Carter, I would have been like, what?
I would have never
talking about like Sharon Carter's gonna like. Do you know who that character is? Like, are you confused? Like,
Peggy Carter's niece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that honestly would be a really cool twist if that's where they're going with that.
Well, we know there's something up. We don't know what, but there is something because her last scene is when she goes to the car with her driver or associate or something and says, "We got a problem." Well, we got a couple problems, I'll tell you, in the car. And then she gets in the back seat and the driver gets in front. So she's in some position of power in some way. Maybe she's in Power Broker's organization. Maybe she's Power Broker. Maybe Power Broker isn't a real person. Maybe it's a CIA front, considering the fact that the Dr. Nagel guy actually worked on the super soldier serum for the CIA initially. A lot of options.
And you know, I mean, honestly, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, she clearly has motive. You know, she's been pretty screwed multiple times by the government or the world itself, or because especially if she because was she blipped? Did she say anything about being blipped?
I can't tell.
So that's the interesting thing. I'm not sure because I remember she was in the diagram that they were showing in Endgame of everybody blipped.
But that could have been an assumption.
Exactly. So we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she built up a very impressive life in Madripoor in a matter of months.
Because, I mean, if she weren't blipped, or if she wasn't blipped, then I don't really understand the motive behind all of this if she were to be Power Broker. I mean, I understand that there is some motive because obviously she got completely screwed
over
after Civil War, but So I mean, she does have some sort of villainous motive, but I mean, the whole, what's the organization called? I keep forgetting their name. The
GRC.
Yeah. Well, no, the ones like who are following Power Broker.
Oh, we don't know.
Oh, we don't know that. Well,
yeah, we don't know. Well, there was LAF in the beginning, but we don't know the ones with Power Broker.
Do we know that they? Yeah, we don't know that LAF had anything to do with Power Broker. They're just trying to
exactly.
But I mean, that whole group, the whole point is that they're getting mistreated compared to the people who were blipped.
Are you talking about Flag Smashers?
Flag Smashers.
Okay, they stole the Super Soldier Serum from Power Broker because they were also a Madripoor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, Madripoor is very central in the show, unexpectedly.
That's right. So. I forgot about that. So yeah, this show is all over the place. There's so many different moving pieces. Yeah, I completely just combined the two. Yeah, but yeah. So the Flag Smashers. So yeah, that doesn't. Zemo, so that doesn't really make any sense.
John Walker. The U.S. government as a whole.
This show is crazy, man.
And now Wakanda.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I mean, how the hell
this
they
show,
brought what?
I mean, I remember, Richard, whenever like WandaVision was getting ready to the end, it's like, man, I don't know what Falcon and Winter Soldier is gonna do to like be as crazy.
One up them.
But yeah, but it's just like now that I'm looking at it. There's so much going on in this show. Like,
and you know what the funniest thing is? Rewatching the old episodes, we should have seen this coming because they have mentioned something about Wakanda or T'Chaka or Black Panther or something in every episode so far.
Yeah.
You mean 2?
3.
I know, but you said in every episode we should have seen this coming. So in the 2 other episodes, got mentioned.
Yeah, in the 3 hours that we've had of this show.
Yeah. But I mean, that's still both prior episodes had some sort of mention of Wakanda, which isn't normal. I mean, was Wakanda ever mentioned in WandaVision?
Well, no, there's no connection to it.
Well,
so
yeah,
Bucky has the connection.
But yeah, exactly.
Wakanda.
So I mean, we should have saw it coming because I mean they kept mentioning it, and so there's some sort of connection there.
Yeah. No, I am so excited to see what happens with that because it becomes a question of what's Bucky's responsibility here. Is it trying to figure out super soldier stuff? Is it get Steve's shield back? Is it like how much does he owe to the people of Wakanda? And is it just a debt of you took care of me for 2 years? Or is the White Wolf an actual title?
Exactly. That's where I was going to go with it. Because like the White Wolf thing was, I mean, it was a cool way to get that name into the MCU, and they mentioned it again in Infinity War. But now it seems like that's actually like a real responsibility for Bucky. Like he has ties to Wakanda more than just them taking care of him.
Yeah, and I mean he mentioned it whenever Sam was making fun of him, calling him like the White Panther or whatever. Yeah. And then he corrects him. He goes, and then he corrects him. He goes, the White Wolf.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I think that probably is his actual title now. Because he has no wish to be associated with the name the Winter Soldier anymore. And that's clear. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be...
Yeah. I mean, I hope she plays a big role in the next episode because I can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious to see what happens with it because I'm assuming they want to take Zemo back to Wakanda.
Oh, hell yeah, because he killed their king.
Correct. So what is Bucky going to do? Like, because I feel like we're going to have Zemo around for a while, So,
yeah. Like, maybe does it convince her that, that he's part of a means to an end or something?
But I don't think Wakanda cares about the super soldier stuff.
I don't think they do at all.
Yeah, so I don't see him being able to convince them of, well, you have to let him help us with this. They feel like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But
I loved on the watch along too when it's happening. Like Brax even said afterwards, Brax saw the beads. It was like, that's Wakanda. But like didn't say anything, and then we saw her, and he goes, I knew it. It was
that's exactly how I was feeling. Like when that first bead came up, I was like, wait a second. And then the second one came up, I was like, oh shit, they're going Wakanda.
Yeah.
Neither of you said anything. That was the funniest part to me. It was just like dead silence of us all going, what's happening?
Wait, just a goddamn second.
Well, I mean, Caitlin, yeah, I mean, you either get that or you get the WandaVision post-credit scene. So with Richard, so
This was bigger than anything the aerospace reveal could have been in
Yeah.
WandaVision. I think this topped that no matter what it was.
Yeah, I definitely think they actually beat out WandaVision on the surprise, and I think they're kind of beating them a little bit with the mystery, because we have this moment of who's really the bad guy.
We have no idea.
Because Flag Smashers, it really feels like Carly Morgenthau just passed into that with the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, she wasn't doing a lot of stuff that you could necessarily consider evil. Yes, she was taking supplies, but it seemed like she was only taking supplies that weren't being used at the time.
yeah,
But now she's killed people who were
She crossed the
unarmed.
line.
Yeah, like even if it was just the soldiers there that they tied up, you tied people up and blew them up. That's bad,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That is not
have-
good. So
right? We have the GRC, which is like just super
Super
sketchy.
sketchy.
yeah,
John Walker, who something's gonna happen with
Yeah.
him. He's
Oh
building.
god, yeah.
He's like one of those like Coke bottles you shook up and you're just waiting for the top to roll.
that is such
They
a
put a
great
Mentos in a
analogy.
Diet Coke, and
Oh
yeah, you're
my
just waiting for it
gosh.
to
I
explode.
love that.
Yep.
That's actually a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have Power Broker now and the Super Soldier Serum and what is happening with that. Because I'm so curious. Is it private? Is it connected to the government? Is it a real bad guy? Is it some sort of like front for espionage? Like what is going on with it? We have no idea. The only person that referred to Power Broker as a he was Zevo, who said, I don't know them other than reputation. No one
Right.
else used he pronouns. So that's another indicator of, is it Sharon Carter? Is it even a person? Because the other piece of it is Power Broker seems to have Madripoor under some sort of control.
Yeah, there was that poster or something, some kind of drawing on the wall that said, I think it was the Power Broker was
Broker is
watching.
watching. Yep.
Yeah.
And everyone's scared of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in Madripoor, which is just this lawless land,
Which
people-
you cannot be extradited.
right? Like people are scared of Power Broker and have some level of respect for them. Is it actually a person, or is it this idea that was put into place?
Could be really interesting to find out.
Yeah, I can't wait because now that you've mentioned Sharon Carter, it's just like I almost don't want it to be anyone. I mean, that would be such a cool emotional twist, especially with her connection with Sam and Bucky. Yeah, like that would be a really amazing moment. The reveal of her being the bad guy or whatever. I mean,
And I love that dynamic. The dynamic for her like really plays into that because she is so done with like the entire superhero thing.
Yeah.
Like because the Avengers weren't there to help her and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, she's completely disillusioned, completely jaded. I mean, Captain America at the end when he's like tying up loose ends and like he goes back in time so he can be with Peggy Carter and basically goes, "Sorry, Sharon. Hope
Like,
you
he
figure
just
it out."
Yeah.
I mean, Captain America totally dipped.
Yeah.
No, I think Sharon Carter would be interesting. I think Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross would be interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was
obsessed with the Super Soldier
that's
Serum.
what I was getting ready to
Absolutely.
say. I mean, the
And
only
he's-
other thing that I could probably see besides Sharon now would be Thaddeus Ross, and I would almost love to see that almost just as equally. I think
And he has Thunderbolts connections.
Yes, I think that would be almost an equal twist to that of Sharon Carter. So honestly, I'd be down for literally either or. I like both would be super cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
I'm-
Emily... Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm more excited for the last 3 episodes of this series than I think I was for WandaVision. I mean, this is gonna get crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think WandaVision I was really excited for like the penultimate episode and then the finale.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one I weirdly am more interested in the mystery here because in WandaVision you're kind of like, okay, Agatha's the bad guy, but Wanda's also the bad guy. Here you're like, there's 7 options.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's weird. I mean, it's kind of hard because I mean, looking back on it, the finale for Wanda was obviously fairly disappointing. So it's kind of hard to objectively look back on that and say which is more exciting now because obviously the finale was.
We're in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the finale was quite underwhelming.
Well, you also have to take a second to remember it got built up by these crazy fan theories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like, it's Mephisto, it's Nightmare, it's the Fantastic
Exactly.
Four,
Yeah.
it's it's like all these things where like even at the end, the writer and director and everyone are like, maybe dial it back a bit, guys.
Which I will say, I think people have listened to this time around. I don't see. I think the craziest theory that we've seen so far is the one we've been talking about, Sharon being power broker. Yeah. But other than that, like,
she's Mephisto.
No, that is true. That is true.
Don Cheadle is Mephisto.
Yep.
Because the
you're actually right on that one.
That's my favorite one so far.
But no, I mean, I started laughing whenever Caitlin mentioned the Fantastic Four, because that was pretty much and still really is a running gag on the show. Where we just where we would just start talking about, like, oh, the Fantastic Four is gonna show up here or something.
We would find a way to get Fantastic Four in the thumbnail.
Yeah, because whenever we put Fantastic Four in the thumbnail, the views would be significantly better every time. And so, like, even if it was barely relevant, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, but I remember the one. I mean, we had Sue Storm in the thumbnail. And, like, we talked about maybe for, like, 5 minutes about Sue Storm because of the whole Jennifer Lawrence thing. And so, I mean, it was a thing that we talked about in the show, and it was a very important topic of that week. But it was just one of those,
like 5 minutes.
Yeah, but it was one of those deals to where it's just like, you know, I mean, we talk about Fantastic Four, so I'm gonna put it in the thumbnail because every time, like the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four thumbnails do better, but Jezer, oh my gosh,
God, Doom is power broker.
Mr. Farley, I agree.
Sharon Carter is Mephisto. Just watch, when Mephisto does show up in the MCU, it's gonna be the most underwhelming thing ever.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Jezer goes, when does Mephisto show up? Jezer says Doom is the power broker. That'd be interesting.
Well, there was some people were wondering if when Zemo was talking about Sokovia getting essentially overtaken by countries surrounding it, is that teasing Doctor Doom?
Yeah. That could be interesting, because that could pull in some Latveria stuff. I mean, I'm not counting on it, but I'm not, counting it out either.
They could tease it in the same way they're teasing with Madripoor. They don't explicitly say something, but they could mention Latveria, or they could see it on a map. That's, I think, very plausible.
But yeah, I mean, of course, none of this matters because Mr. Marley is actually correct. Sharon Carter is Mephisto.
Why else would she be acting so weird?
Yeah. So she is okay. Now, for those watching at home, that was a joke. Okay,
it's a joke, guys.
Just in case that was unclear, it can be for some people sometimes. So I do like to mention that. Obviously I don't think that Sharon Carter is Mephisto. But that would be, oh my gosh. I feel like people, like, the general audience would hate that. But I feel like, in this magical world where Sharon Carter is revealed to be Mephisto in this show, I think that would probably be the best moment of my entire life, probably. Just to go on Twitter after the episode is aired, and just to see the absolute mayhem. Like, I think they would probably shut down Twitter. Like Twitter would go so crazy that Twitter would break. And like how whenever Minecraft Steve got announced for Super Smash Brothers, to the point, and then everybody broke Twitter. Like, I feel like that would be something that would break Twitter if Sharon Carter was revealed to be Mephisto the whole time. You know what? Yeah. I'm here for it.
And then
what was great was that Emily Van Camp was interviewed by Variety like 2 days ago, I think, and she was specifically asked about the power broker rumors or theories. And she doesn't really answer because, she can't. Yeah. She essentially goes, anyone could be power broker and there's still more characters to come. Yeah. So the fact that we're halfway through and there's still more characters to come is insane.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, but we were just talking about how we got 7 people who could be the main antagonist of this show. And just to think that, there's going to be more. I mean that's
I bet we'll know by like episode 5 or so, because I mean they're gonna have to have one episode where there's a big bad for the whole thing. But I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to touch on, because we got a lot more to talk about. But
real quick, I'll throw it over to the chat here real quick. Jezer says last time we saw Mephisto was Ghost Rider, right? Is that true?
I think so. I've only watched the Ghost Riders a couple of
Yeah.
times. They've never mentioned him at all within the MCU
Yeah.
or
Believe
like
it or
in
not, I
Agents of
haven't
Shield or
watched the
anything.
Ghost
But
Riders ever. It doesn't just no.
I've only seen him a couple
Yeah, it
times.
didn't really seem
You know,
something that
Nick
was
Cage.
too
Nick
great.
Cage does pretty good.
So it's just like, is it really worth watching? But
I do like me some Nick Cage as Ghost Rider.
yeah, maybe
I
I'll
like
check
the
it out
guy
someday.
from Agents of Shield. I thought he did well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, me too. That was a good season with Ghost Rider.
Jezer
Yeah.
says, "What if Wolverine was one of the original super soldiers?" I honestly,
That'd be interesting.
yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but honestly, I could totally see them doing that because at this point now, they're introducing the mutants, and you go, well, how do you do that? Because the mutants have always been just something that have always existed, but we have seen no proof of that being a thing that has existed throughout the first. How many years has it been of the MCU?
13 almost.
So I do think that they need to find an MCU way to introduce the mutants, and I feel like that some sort of mix or mesh with the super soldier serum could be a decent way to do that. Because I mean, if you look back to the Incredible Hulk, that was the super soldier serum, pretty much. Some sort of offshoot of it. So I think it would be interesting to see if the mutants sort of came to be with some sort of offshoot of the super soldier serum. I think that could be a really strong possibility of something that they could do.
I think Eternals will set it up a little bit, because that kind of is the whole screwing with genealogy and DNA and stuff.
And
I
they're
think
going back in time.
Right, it's way back. I think that the reason we haven't really seen them is they're essentially in hiding because they're not accepted, and they'll be hunted sometimes depending on what their mutation is.
If
I think
for them
Wolverine
to be
being
not
a super soldier could be
accepted,
interesting.
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's
For
fine.
them to be not accepted, they have to be known about, though, right? I mean,
But they could have been known about 30 years ago. Like,
I guess.
like realistically, we've only covered a very small portion of the time within the MCU.
If they want to do comic book X-Men, then they've got a lot of exposition to do for that.
Yeah. Well, here's what I've been thinking. I think there could be a combination of like a Wolverine who's maybe been around for a while but hasn't been talked about. I've always thought the snap is going to have something to do with it, the blip.
Yeah, I'm betting, like, we've talked about this a little bit. It probably made it worse. Or not worse, but, like, more people...
Widespread.
Yeah. Like, it was one of those things that, based on the environment, the mutant, the, like, X gene became more prominent.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I'm thinking maybe a combination of those two is what's going to introduce the X-Men later on.
I think Wolverine would be interesting because the question becomes... Did he get the serum and it like got added to his X gene, or did they see him and try to like
replicate it?
Yeah,
well,
like was it more of like he was like used as similarly to Isaiah Bradley?
I could see that because I mean, obviously, he has the claws, but that's not the only thing that Wolverine does. I mean, he definitely has some sort of super strength. Power. He's got his healing power, and so I definitely think there's a little more. Because, I mean, they could just explain that, he can have claws come out of his hands, but, he's got a bunch of other powers, too, that are kind of similar to a super soldier, so...
Yeah.
Totally.
I could see him, like, being almost, like, even maybe pre-Steve, like, there's myths about this guy that was just this incredible fighter, and maybe this is where this idea came from. Like, I could see it almost that he's sort of the inspiration behind the idea of the super soldier serum.
That could be really interesting,
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I mean...
Speaking of earlier in the MCU...
Oh, yeah. Good segue there. We've got a couple trailers to talk about.
Yep.
Both of which are crazy timeline related.
Yes.
Oh, my God, totally. Yeah, which one do we want to get to first? Black Widow or Loki?
Let's dive into the other Disney Plus series that's coming out.
Loki
released a new trailer. That was amazing.
I know.
Before we really get into it, I was excited for Loki at first. The first trailer was really cool, and I enjoyed it and all. This one got me so excited for Loki. I cannot wait for this show.
They're doing so well promoting their shows.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just think about this. If we like Loki just from the trailer, think about what we're going to think whenever the show's going to actually be coming out, considering they've already renewed it For a season
Yeah.
2?
Yeah,
This
season
is
2.
the first one that has an official season 2, correct?
What If?
Yeah.
Besides What If?
Right.
Well,
Well,
Those are
what
the
if
only
what
two
if
official
we can
now.
do forever though?
Yeah,
Because what
true.
if is just a bunch of different craziness.
Yeah.
Like I
That's
think
totally fair.
Yeah.
that's kind of the Marvel series that they can go like Law and Order style. We have 30 seasons.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's fine.
And plus, we don't know if What If is going to be canon or not. So, I mean, I'm not thinking it will
I
be,
mean,
but like I keep saying, I think it's possible.
My thing with
like
that,
the Watcher or something is explaining it, so I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah,
canon
the
in the
yeah,
sense that
I think it's
different realities,
def-
but it's not canon of this happened in the MCU timeline that you watch
yes,
regularly.
Right,
yes.
that's fair, yeah.
It's definitely going to be canon because they announced it with their whole Phase 4 slate.
Right.
So I feel like if it were its own separate thing, then they would have done it as its own separate announcement, not with Phase 4.
Right. I could almost see if both What If and Loki are super popular, them playing with that in season 2 of Loki.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, I can't wait
Oh
for
my gosh,
Loki. I mean,
yeah.
this trailer was insane.
Yes.
I love the bit where it's sign this to like say
This
it's
is
the
absurd.
thing you've ever said. This is absurd, Prince. This too.
That was the first thing that got me. And Owen Wilson, I mean,
Oh, he's
I
great.
love Owen Wilson in almost everything he's ever done. Getting him into the MCU is gonna be gold.
I've got a fun fact.
Mobius, amazing.
I've got a fun fact that relates to Owen Wilson and the actor who plays Baron Zemo. I forgot his name.
Daniel Brühl.
Yes. Daniel Brühl
played
played
this is good. I know
Lightning
where it's
McQueen
going.
in the German version of Cars.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know.
Yeah, Daniel Brühl did the German voiceover for Lightning McQueen.
Wow,
Is that
totally
hilarious or
different.
what? I mean, that is just
It's
so
like, I was
funny.
like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's insane. Oh my gosh. Well, and then Owen Wilson killed it in the trailer. You had the bit where it's like, yeah, it makes you seem smart. I am smart. Yeah, I know. Like so dismissive.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Literally stabbed people in the back like 50 times.
Yes. And Loki, I'll never do it again. Like, so good.
I mean, Tom Hiddleston is absolute gold in the MCU. He deserves his own series for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I was nervous because I really liked where Loki was with Ragnarok. Like that was probably my favorite version of Loki. It very much felt like that trickster god energy, not this like evil thing that we got in the first two
He's
Avengers.
more anti-hero than villain. Yeah.
Just fun. And with this, I was like, oh man, it's the Loki right after Avengers. He doesn't have any of that character growth. I'm fine with it. It's so good because he's going up against these people that he doesn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Right?
This show, I mean, I feel like I say this every time a new Disney Plus show gets ready to come out, but this is gonna be like one of the best Disney Plus shows that they have done so far, and you know, and that's a good thing. I mean the fact that I say this every time a new Disney Plus show. I mean, I was a little worried about Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming off of WandaVision because of all the twists and turns that WandaVision has. Obviously, I was completely wrong about that. I am more than happy to be wrong about that too. I am loving Falcon and the Winter Soldier so far, and now Loki seems to be like almost like it could be even crazier than WandaVision, and it's so it's just like
it will be.
Like I cannot wait for this. I mean, obviously, I was so excited to see that Loki was finally getting his own solo project whenever they announced it. Loki is by far the best villain in the MCU. Thanos, but second
outside of Thanos, yes.
Second to Thanos, because Thanos, I feel like gets it.
And that's no shame.
Yeah,
that is nothing to be ashamed of.
But you know, I mean, and to be the first villain solo project to come out, I mean, Loki is more than deserving of that. And Tom Hiddleston is absolutely perfect in the role. I mean, I don't think there is anyone out there that can play Loki, you know, the way that Tom Hiddleston does. I mean, he does an absolutely incredible job, and I am like over the moon excited for the show to come out.
Well, the other piece of it that's so cool is like, yes, WandaVision really had that origin story of the Scarlet Witch. We introduced chaos magic and more of the magic stuff, and a little bit of universe might be in peril. Falcon and Winter Soldier, we have like the blip, super soldier stuff. We have all that. Loki is introducing an entire new area of the MCU that we haven't really seen. Like it's the Time Variance Authority. It's this time travel craziness.
Alternate dimensions.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have Ravonna Lexus Renslayer with Judge Renslayer in some capacity, which is probably maybe teasing King the Conqueror.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, this is the exact character that you're like, yeah, let's just do something else.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's going to work.
Yeah, you can play with him in, like, it's completely different area of the MCU and introduce it, and it's fine. Because he's so, he's such his own character, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom Hiddleston owns it.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested in the fact that the Time Variance Authority has Loki kind of fixing these divergence that he's made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then this is just me, like, I don't think it'll be a thing, but Gamora is a, like, time variant.
It's true.
So
Absolutely.
is Captain America. He went back and caused his own reality so he could live as happily ever after.
Yeah.
Like,
this could open up the door for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Jezra in the chat mentions the time police, like from Legends of Tomorrow. Kind of, except the Legends are usually the ones getting in trouble by the time police.
Well,
So
Legends had the Time Bureau.
yeah.
This is, in Loki, it seems like he's essentially on some sort of parole within them.
Yeah.
Like, that they're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
He's
some kind
doing
of
his
deal.
community service.
Yeah.
So, which
Oh,
the
man.
odd thing is though, I mean, did he do this? The thing that's unclear is that did he do this on purpose?
Steal the Tesseract?
Well, yeah, no, he stole the Tesseract on purpose, yeah, but I mean, did he know that he was going to make his own separate timeline?
Oh,
I'm
totally.
sure. I don't think we meet him, like, the second, I don't think they grabbed him the second he stole the Tesseract. I think he went and screwed around with time.
Probably.
Yeah. Because, like, in the trailer, we see them bringing him in with the Tesseract in hand. And I love, like, going off what you said, Caitlin, the one line where he said, I'm always 10 steps ahead of you. And, I mean, he totally is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be real interesting to find out what happens between when he leaves Endgame and when he shows up in this series.
And we saw him in these different worlds, it looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that I definitely still think that Loki is going to be kind of a villain in this story, you know, even though it's his own story.
100%.
So
At least partially.
I'm going to I can't wait to see how they handle that, because yeah, they kind of did that with WandaVision where Wanda was sort of the villain, but really Agatha, it was Agatha all along. You know,
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't, though. That was the thing that was weird, is that it wasn't Agatha all along, because Wanda still was the one who created this. But anyway, but Loki is definitely going to be screwing around a lot, and he's going to have a fun time doing it too.
He is the god of mischief,
yes.
after all. So.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he.
No, I'm so excited
Yeah.
for it.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, well, me three. You know, all of it. Yeah, you know, it is
Just
going to
give
be.
me this series.
It's going to be a fun show, and they're giving us more. I mean, there's going to be a second season already, so I mean, we've
sure.
got a lot more Tom Hiddleston Loki to come, and hopefully we'll see him in Thor: Love and Thunder as well.
Yeah,
I hope so, even for a
it
little
would be
bit.
interesting to see Thor meeting this Loki variant, because they do specifically refer to him as a Loki variant,
Yeah.
because he's not.
He's got variant on the back of his outfit. Yeah.
And even Judge Renslayer says, like, do you trust this Loki variant?
Variant. Right.
So, like, he obviously is not technically the original Loki, but we don't know all the timey nonsense.
Timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. And also, what's interesting is it seems like this could in some way tie into Quantumania because of the Kang, like, Renslayer stuff. But
Yeah,
then,
for sure.
I think Feige has said that it also leads into Doctor Strange, too, in some way.
This could tie into like 4 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
like, it really could.
I mean, yeah, if we're saying like Kang is gonna have something to do with it, then it would obviously tie into Quantumania. I feel like it's definitely gonna have something to do with Thor, because it is a Thor spinoff.
Right.
You know, it might not,
Doctor Strange.
but of course, Doctor Strange, because of the whole multiverse, different timelines. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna tie. Well, and even Spider-Man. You know, because we know that they're more than likely, not confirmed, doing multiverse stuff in that film as well. So.
Well, we all also thought that WandaVision was going to be the thing that broke the multiverse. What if it's actually Loki?
Probably,
that.
honestly, it probably is at this point, you know.
I think when Loki comes, the fan theories are going to be insane.
Yeah, well, here we go again.
But I think a lot of them have more of a chance to actually be right this time around.
Yeah, I think WandaVision, like, part of why you couldn't guess what was going on is because no character, including the main character, knew what was going on for a long time.
Exactly.
I can't believe that we haven't seen it until just right now. Owen Wilson is Mephisto. I mean, we figured it out. It's all connected, folks.
God.
Well, what's so cool about this too is it is this prequel that's not a prequel type deal because it is technically Loki from earlier in the timeline, and we have another prequel that's sort of a prequel, sort of not.
You're really getting
with
good
our
at
trailer.
These segues, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With our trailer for Black Widow, it's set after Civil War, but it also looks like it's going to be setting up some stuff for the future with Yelena Belova, who is like, we're 90% sure going to be the next Black Widow.
For sure. Yeah,
she's in Hawkeye,
trailer.
So.
Yeah, she's in Hawkeye. And that trailer, I actually really loved how they did this trailer because it didn't really give a lot of new like plot info, but a lot of it focused on like her childhood, like growing up with Yelena and Red Guardian and everything. And I love that they're going back to that kind of stuff because, I mean, this movie was originally supposed to come out a year ago next month.
It was supposed to be first.
This is supposed to be the first Phase 4. Exactly. And I love that we still don't know a ton about what's going on. I mean, obviously she's going to be fighting Taskmaster. We know that. We know there's going to be a lot of family stuff, but we don't really know a ton of plot details.
Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting too is you say family stuff. They made it clear in this trailer, it's like a family unit that was created by the government.
Yeah, by the Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like how insane is that?
Yeah, that's
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Of course she's messed up.
Richard,
who wouldn't be?
Seriously, it makes so much sense now.
Richard, you mentioned something earlier how you both mentioned how this was supposed to initially kick off Phase 4, and you know what? In my brain, it still kind of has, which is weird because it hasn't come out yet, because I still always think that, Black Widow is the start of Phase 4. But, it obviously won't be at this point because Wanda, Falcon, and Loki will have all at least have started by then, right? So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at least the kickoff of Phase 4 in the, film aspect.
But it's still...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because,
well, how cool is this, too? Yeah. Just... the first TV show and the first movie of Phase 4, both led by women.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I mean, we're seeing that a lot more in this phase as well because obviously we're getting Captain Marvel 2. We're getting Ms. Marvel. We're getting Hawkeye with Kate Bishop. So we're seeing a lot more women-led stuff in the MCU.
Rumors of Lady Loki and Loki.
Yeah.
Is that did I miss that? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Well, that's
I think I remember.
They've teased it. Wasn't there a piece of the score that was released?
Yeah.
It's called Lady Loki.
I think I did actually read that somewhere. But so I mean, obviously, I'm all for it. There's no good reason to not be for it. I mean, it's more representation. I mean, I feel like if you're not for
it's
that, I mean, it's like okay, that's weird.
We're in for an incredible phase of Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Black Widow trailer was so cool. I was a little surprised because I think initially didn't seem like Taskmaster had taken over the Red Room, and now it looks like he's more in that mercenary role that he's known for because he was told by Dreykov to go take care of it, go bring her back.
Right.
So that should be interesting. Taskmaster's just going to be great because Taskmaster's just
he's a
Taskmaster
really cool
is going to be such a cool villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he comes back too. I hope this is not the only time we see him.
Yeah.
Me too. I hope he's not a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he would be. I'm sure he'll be a great one-off if he is. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him with Spider-Man. I mean, that'd be really cool.
Well, after the Spider-Man game, that was awesome.
Because that's exactly what I was thinking of. So. I mean, I feel like, Peter is definitely someone who I think would be able to handle, well, at least that version of Peter.
Parker. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe if we get a couple more movies with Tom Holland and he's grown a little more, I think him versus Taskmaster would be a really cool,
like a little bit older version of him.
Yeah.
I also just love that Taskmaster was like, I have this superpower. I'm gonna start a henchman school. Why not? You're like, that's the best response ever. He's like, villains make more money. If I do it like this, I'm probably not gonna die.
Totally.
Set. Like, I so would love to see that in this.
Yes.
Me too.
Glenn Grant. Glenn Grant is in the chat right now. Hello, everybody. I am back. How are y'all doing?
What's up?
I am great, Glenn. How are you today?
We're doing great. We're having a fun time
here.
here.
Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We still got a lot to cover here tonight. So
yeah.
Hopefully you stick around for a little bit. But
but that trailer was. I can't wait for Black Widow. I've been waiting for Black Widow the whole time.
And that explosion transition was so cool.
So good.
Yeah, and well, really, the thing with Black Widow, the big thing about Black Widow is it's about damn time. I mean, you know, this has been a long time coming. I mean, this should have been a Phase 1 film. But at least we're finally getting it. They were able to, actually do it with Scarlett Johansson as well. Of course, they had to make it a prequel, but I mean, I think it's still at least nice that at least for this one time, probably just this once, we were actually able to see a Black Widow movie with Scarlett Johansson.
Personally, I like that it's a prequel because we get to see what she was doing after Civil War, where essentially everything she's ever done got leaked online by her. Yeah. But also, it sets up the possibility of more prequels in the future. Like, we could potentially get the movie of what happened in Budapest.
Yeah.
Because people have been wanting that since that was mentioned in the first Avengers.
Oh, God. Yeah, people have been wanting that for almost a decade.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably going to be explored in this movie, though. Like,
it has to be.
I don't think it's going to be its own movie at this point, because I feel like that they would have done that first.
I don't know. I think they could test the waters with this, because this seems to have a much, like, it's her going back to her roots. It's like seeing this Russian stuff. I'm assuming shutting down the Red Room and like really kind of getting her affairs in order before like Infinity War. You know.
I mean, if they go for it, I mean, do the Budapest movie. I mean, go right on ahead. It's just I feel like that would have been the story that they would have wanted to do first, and then maybe this would have been like a sequel to that. But if they want to do it the other way around, then whatever. We're getting a full on a movie about whatever happened to Budapest. So I'm whatever. I'm okay with that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so no, I really like that it has the possibility of opening the door for more prequels, like be it Black Widow, be it any of the Avengers, or even some of the smaller characters, like
maybe an old Hulk one once they get the rights back.
Yeah.
That'll be a while.
Yeah. I'd heard rumors like a year ago that they were trying to get the rights back from Universal or something, but I just really hope so. To the Hulk from Universal.
The Hulk. Okay, gotcha, yeah.
I don't know. They are in such a fight with Sony about Spider-Man. I don't see Universal giving those up.
Yeah. Hey, at least we're going to see Hulk, though.
As well. I mean, they're doing just fine without having Hulk solo films, so...
Yeah, I actually think... I like Hulk in the team films because...
Sporting role, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's so depressing.
Yeah.
On his own.
Well, and it's kind of like Ben Affleck Batman in the Snyderverse. It's kind of like the same sort of deal. Where I mean, if I feel like if we had now, that's not me saying I don't want a Ben Affleck solo movie, because that would have been really cool. But I feel like it kind of works better for the character that way, because I mean it is very depressing and very very real. And that's sometimes really hard for people to watch and to get into. I mean, that's a movie that I would enjoy because I like that real stuff. I mean, I love what Superman and Lois is doing. I mean, that's a very real show.
But it's not depressing.
Yeah, like, for the most part. Superman. Yeah, I mean, it's still Superman. Yeah, it still has that hope, but they do definitely deal with depressing topics, like Lana Lang is having marriage trouble, and for me, with somebody who came from who has divorced parents, I mean that can be a little depressing. Or whenever they talk about anxiety, that could be a little depressing for me, somebody who kind of deals with that. So, but I mean, I appreciate that it's something that's being talked about, because I feel like at that point, then it makes it something that's more normalized and easy. And whenever it's normalized, it makes it easier for people to deal with that kind of stuff.
No, 100%. I feel like with a Hulk solo story for me a little bit is we have his origin.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't really seen anyone other than Ross pop up again. I know Abomination's going to pop up in She-Hulk, but what's his next solo story?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the only connections we know of within the MCU are the Avengers.
I mean, I think Bruce's story pretty much was kind of wrapped up in Endgame. I mean, they could do the only thing I could see them doing if they wanted to do a Hulk solo movie is something similar to Black Widow, where they would do something.
I can see them doing that.
Something like in between.
Yeah, because the only reason I say what's his story is it seems like after he got away, like based on the first Avengers movie, he was essentially living off the grid and helping, like as just a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like Bruce Banner wouldn't want to fight.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I know we got off track a little bit, but any other? We actually had a good segue there for a second with all the DC stuff.
Well, not yet, Richard.
One more piece of Marvel.
Yeah, no, not yet, Richard. Well, hold on, just 1 second.
Oh yes,
Morphin Network.
One more piece of Marvel. Yes.
Morphin Network in the chat says, "Sup guys? What's up, Morphin Network? Morphin Network is an affiliate of the
offshoot of ours.
Yep. So welcome to them in the chat. And Glenn Grant comes into the chat. Said, did you all see the leaked Shang-Chi Funko Pops? It's interesting that you say that, Glenn, because that is our next topic.
Just about to talk about it.
So.
This is another movie I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. This might be right now my most anticipated. Actually, no, that's a lie. Spider-Man 3.
Here's Spider-Man.
But my most anticipated new character.
Yeah, I will say this. I know pretty much nothing about Shang-Chi, but I am so excited to see the action and the martial arts in that film. I think it's going to be really cool to see how they handle like the stunts and the stunt coordination and in the fights in that movie.
And like Loki, this is going into an entirely new area of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And they were really teasing that with the Funko Pops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these Funko Pops are awesome. We got, there's one with Razor Fist. There's one with Awkwafina's character. There's a full-on dragon in there. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't say Fing Fang Foom on the Funko Pop. I don't know.
Like the Great Protector or something, right?
Yeah, I think that's the Great Protector. So, I mean, they're bringing freaking dragons into this thing. I mean, this movie is going to be nuts.
Yes.
And it looks like based on the Funko Pops, the 10 rings are on his arms, not his hands, right?
Right. Yeah. It looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the thing I love about this movie most is that it's going to connect to some deep stuff in the MCU's past. I mean, the 10 rings was in Iron Man 1.
Yeah, they're the ones who kidnapped him.
They're the ones who kidnapped Tony Stark in the first place. And then it's going to lead into the future with all this martial arts stuff. And I mean, yeah, this movie's going to set up some big-time stuff in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, without the 10 rings, you don't have the MCU. Because without Tony Stark getting kidnapped, you don't have Iron Man.
Nope.
Yeah, so that'll be really interesting. We're going to get the Mandarin that's not the weird actor from Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 3. I mean, that was just...
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, that was just a stupid... Oh. Yeah, that's definitely one of the very few MCU mess-ups. What they did in Iron Man 3.
That was a low point.
Oh, Glenn Grant, that would be interesting if they had a trailer at the end of Falcon Winter Soldier for Shang-Chi. That'd be cool.
Can you imagine? That'd be that'd be dope. Like as like a post-credits kind of deal or whatever.
Like the way they did the Avengers at the end of the first Captain America.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was so epic. I remember that as a kid. The like because I think I mentioned this at the in the last show that we did. But like whenever I went to go see the first Avenger, like the owner of the theater actually came out and said, "Hey, stick to the end because we got a sneak peek of the Avengers coming up." And like, oh my gosh, that was the most hype thing ever as a kid. Because I mean, obviously, you guys were there too. That had never happened before in cinematic history. So I mean, that and that was just so cool to see. Just
incredible.
I mean, watching like I just said, cinematic history, but also, as a kid, seeing all of these superheroes that I've seen, the movies of, like, actually come together as one and actually be a part of the team, because I think around the same time the cartoon was coming out, and I was a huge fan of the cartoon, and then to get to see that in live action, I mean, that was just a awesome moment. But that was I went sidetracked there, but
no, it's fine, because the other piece of it too is it completely confirmed the initial tease from the first Iron Man when Nick Fury talked to him about the Avengers Initiative. So it was really the first, like, big full circle moment.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, this movie's gonna be another big full circle moment.
Yeah. Well, finally, when you get the Mandarin, like,
it's been crazy.
It's been long enough.
No, I think it's gonna be exciting. I'm hoping, because Black Panther really opened up the gates for a lot of, like, African American superheroes and characters. So I'm really hoping we get that for Asian and Asian American characters with Shang-Chi.
I think we are. It definitely seems like, I mean, with looking at the cast, I mean, it definitely seems.
No, the cast for sure, but I mean, like, down
for
the
future.
line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they would make this film if they didn't plan on making, like, 2 or 3 more, So I mean, Kevin Feige definitely has a plan with these characters, and probably, I mean, I would say probably every film is going to get some sort of spin-off at some point, and of course, that including Shang-Chi. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get, like, a spin-off, or maybe even 2 from this movie.
I'd be interested to see if there's any sort of TV potential that comes out of it.
Yeah, and I think the thing that might be most exciting about this movie is that Simu Liu is, like, he is all in.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love seeing his stuff on Twitter. Yeah,
it's just his enthusiasm alone is what's getting me excited for this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's kind of the same, like, it's kind of like the Black Adam effect with Dwayne Johnson. It's like, would I really be as excited about Black Adam if it weren't for The Rock? I would say no.
Maybe,
definitely
but
not.
really.
But it's the same thing with Shang-Chi. The fact that this guy is just absolutely in love with his character and is just so happy to be here, like, it just makes me super excited to see him on the big screen.
You can't not want to see this movie.
Yeah.
Well, especially because of how mysterious it still is. We don't know what's going to happen in it. Like,
we're 5 months out and we haven't gotten one look at it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
Funko
Funko Pops,
like, leaked stills or anything.
A Lego leak.
But not one official piece of footage at all. Yeah. No pictures, no video, nothing.
Yeah, like, we know more about Spider-Man No Way Home than we know about Shang-Chi. How insane.
And that doesn't come out until December.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know more about Doctor Strange. That's not coming out this year.
We know more about the Batman, which doesn't come out till 2022, than we do about Shang-Chi, which comes out in September. So, in fact, we probably know more about the Flash, which comes out in November of 2022. So,
I mean, that movie was also supposed to come out 3 years ago. So
yeah. Well, actually, no, it was supposed to come out in like 20. No, well then you're right. So never mind. The math is hard. But But Brax is in the chat. What's up, Brax? Can we finally get some mutant action in Shang-Chi? Well, yeah, we were just talking about that in about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but could we see it in Shang-Chi as well?
Yeah, and shout out to Brax too, our editor in chief at the Illuminerdi. Yeah. He lets us all do all of this. So thank you, man.
On our Marvel watch along on Thursday.
Yes, he is. He's an entertaining watch.
Yeah. But
I think that'd be very cool and that'd be an interesting spot to have more of this world building with the mutants, because I feel like they're really starting to kick that into gear now too. So I think that would be very cool.
Plus, Shang-Chi's supposed to be a little sort of a prequel too, because I've heard rumors it's supposed to take place, I think, in 2020, which would be during the 5-year gap,
right?
Yeah. So I don't know for sure. I just heard rumors about that, but that'd be a really interesting time period to visit.
Yeah, I so want to see what happened.
Oh, me too.
Especially because more superheroes had to come out of it. So if we're seeing that, if we're getting mutant teased, that would just amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and we did mention how we don't know much about this movie, and like we know more about some of the other Marvel movies and even some of the other DC movies. We do have some very sad news on the DC front with 2 movies that we did know a bit about, but were themselves somewhat of a mystery. DC has canceled The Trench, which would have been the Aquaman spinoff, and New Gods.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
You know what? And I almost wrote I was going to write a story on it on Illuminerdi, but I've just been so incredibly busy here lately that I wasn't able to do it. But I would have made the headline something like DC cancels 2 more properties that fans would have loved to see, or something like that. Because I mean, it is just ridiculous how New Gods is definitely something that I think people were really looking forward to. And now it's just like, it's gone. I mean, it does kind of raise some eyebrows. Like, is this because of the Snyderverse? Like, is this because they want to continue like the dark side stuff in some potential Justice League sequels? I know that's still a pretty far reach right now.
There's also the possibility that they wanted to make sure everything coming out is more separate from the Snyderverse.
Yeah, and then the Trench thing, I was thinking the reason I heard that they canceled Trench was just because James Wan was going to be super busy doing Aquaman 2. So, and I think not just with that one, with both of them, maybe they're just trying to rework a new way to work them into the franchise later, but I don't know.
And the weird thing...
Yeah, everything has that. Part of it is that DC announces their stuff too early.
What I don't get,
God, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's one problem. But what I don't get is that we're getting announcements that these 2 movies are canceled. New Gods and The Trench. But we've still got like another 20 DC films that have been like the Jared Leto Joker Harley Quinn movie. Like, when's the announcement for that being canceled going to come out? What about...
I assumed that was dead.
But it's just like, why are we getting an announcement for this? Because it's just like, none of the other canceled film. I mean, we never got an announcement saying Cyborg was canceled, but of course we know that that's never going to happen.
That ain't gonna happen.
Same thing with Deathstroke. We know that.
I think it's because they are separate. Like, yes, the Trench is connected to Aquaman, which is technically connected to Justice League, but also sort of not. It's odd. So I get that. I also get New Gods because it is separate. Like, I think it would have been more of its own thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the New Gods definitely wouldn't have been in line with the Snyderverse, but it just doesn't make any sense because Warner Media has been so adamant that the Snyderverse isn't going to happen. They're not going to make any more. But then we hear all the rumors that, but HBO Max is really pleased with the Snyder Cut, and same with AT&T. And then we get the announcement that the New Gods, something that would have directly conflicted with the Snyderverse, is now canceled. And so it's just like, what is going on? Like, it's just like, I just don't know what to make of this news at all. Like,
well, part of the reason they said New Gods was canceled, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it they said it was too big for a single movie?
I think you might be right, yeah.
Which to me is like, yeah, it should be.
Right?
Well, then make more. Then make more than one? Question mark? That right? Seems like that can't be the actual. I mean, I feel like it might. If that's the reason that they gave, then it has to have something to do with the Snyderverse, because that can't be the actual reason that they can't. Because it's like, okay, it's too big for more than one movie. Then make more than one. Like, I don't like
Marvel property.
Like, it's just like, okay, like I don't know, Harry Potter was too big for one movie, so they made 8. I don't know. I mean, same thing with The Hobbit. The Hobbit was too big, because that's probably a better example. The Hobbit was one book. It was too big for one movie, so they made 3. So, that really seems like that can't be the actual reason why. I mean, I'm sure it's probably what they said.
I think if it is connected to the Snyderverse, I don't think it's because they want to do more with it. I think they want to make sure everything is as separated from it as possible. I could also see it being something where they think it's too much money.
Yeah. You know what DC really needs to do? It's not going to happen. Exactly. They need to sit down, think about, what movie do you want to do now? What movie do we want to do 2 to 3 years from now? How are they going to connect? Not just trying to...
Do they need to? It's DC!
As someone who's always been a bigger DC fan than Marvel, you guys are killing me, because, I mean, you're right. You're not wrong.
They don't need to connect. DC has the multiverse just inherently there, especially with Flash. The Flash is 100% setting up. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are 100% right, and it kills me because, I mean, it should be easy. I mean, Marvel showed you how to do it. I mean, all they had to do was copy and paste hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, sure, but try to make it a little different.
But do a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this: if they didn't want to follow the Marvel model because they were having the moment of we don't want to take a decade to set up our movies, they could have played into the multiverse where they had different stuff going on. Like just have the Flash.
And honestly,
it's not even necessarily had to be earlier. Now would work. You go look. There's different parts.
And
totally.
Post Flash, I think that's what they're going to do. I've been seeing different reports. I think Geekosity was one of them that said that the Flash could set up. They're just going to do the multiverse now, and but then they'll come up with like some sort of crisis team at some point, like Wonder Woman will be her own separate thing, and so will Aquaman, and then so will the Flash and
Totally.
Blue Beetle, and then the universes will come together for some major threat at some point. And honestly, that sounds about right. I mean, that really seems like what they're. It sounds like what they should do, and it kind of seems like what they're going to do, because I mean they've been talking a lot about the multiverse here recently. Especially with the movies, so I do think that's definitely the direction that they're going. It's just will they execute it properly is just going to be the big question.
Well, based on the last 5-10 years, no.
Yeah, well, and then the other question is that if they're going so heavy into the multiverse, like they're saying they are, and like it seems like they are with like different reports and just what the Flash is looking like, the Snyderverse should be simple. I mean, like I just don't. I mean, not everybody wants it, of course. That's a little bit of an overstatement, but I mean, like the fans, a good portion of people want it. I mean, the fans want the Snyderverse, and so it's just like you're doing the multiverse anyway. Just have it be another Elseworlds, whatever, like a different timeline. Like,
well, let's get out of the Snyderverse a little bit, because that'll be its own wormhole if we let it.
Yeah, that'll be.
You know what? It's good that we have Caitlin here now, because this would have been another like 20 minutes.
For sure.
I will say part of what I'm so disappointed about with the Trench and New Gods being canceled is the Trench was really this moment of DC's gonna explore a like technically superhero like a horror movie within this superhero realm.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been crazy interesting. I'm not a huge horror person myself, but getting into these different genres, that is one of the things that Marvel has done really well before. Like the first Captain America, it's a war movie.
Yeah.
Like having a movie that is literally a horror movie from a horror movie director, that is where Aquaman's director has gotten his start. It's one of the things he's most famous for, aside from obviously Aquaman. Would have been interesting. It wasn't going to be a prequel, but I'm sure we would have gotten the origins. Like, as someone who's not a big horror person, I so wanted to know how these creatures devolved from other Atlanteans to fish monsters.
Yeah.
It's like what Sam Raimi's doing with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because he's a huge horror guy too.
Yeah.
But
a lot of superhero directors are.
Oh yeah, for sure. But God, I just wish DC would take more out of Marvel's book, just for their sake.
Glenn Grant here real quick says in the chat, F in the chat for the cancellation of the New Gods. Would have been great to see the fourth world on the big screen. I mean, yeah, obviously we all agree.
Clearly, yeah.
That is exactly what I was about to say. You're exploring an entirely different unless you are a DC hardcore person, you don't know about this.
Uh-huh.
It's not Superman. This is not Batman. This is not the thing that everyone around the world goes, oh yeah, that's DC.
Yeah,
like, this is Jack Kirby's baby, and we would have gotten a chance to really get into it. And yes,
clearly Jack Kirby stuff works great in movies.
Yeah, right?
See Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
No, so it would have been so interesting, because yes, you have the people that like saw a little bit of Apocalypse with the Snyder Cut, so you have that kind of instilled, but you'd see essentially their opposite with the Highfather, with what is it, Mr. Miracle, right? Yeah, Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Like, you would get to really see these dichotomies within the DC universe that kind of explains this overall like world in a way that you don't necessarily get with I'm Batman, I'm gonna take down the Joker and try and protect Gotham. I'm Superman, I'm going to save the world. So no, both of these are huge bummers, because it is just another missed opportunity of DC. Explore your depth.
Yes. Well, and then that's something that Marvel again, we bring up Marvel, proved that they could absolutely kill it with. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, who? I mean, back in 2013, before the movie came out, it's just like who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I've never heard these people. This movie's going to be terrible.
They were
Gosh, was I wrong? I mean, and same
That's
thing.
still one of the best Marvel movies.
Yeah, and then the Eternals. I mean, it's probably going to be the same thing. Shang-Chi. They're exploring these lesser known characters, and they're gonna kill it.
And then they get to do Fantastic Four and X-Men in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, think about it, Marvel doesn't have a horror movie. DC could have had a step ahead there.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, they're going to now with the Multiverse of Madness.
They already are going to beat DC at that.
So.
Yeah, but you also have the moment of Marvel is so building this cosmic aspect of their universe. That was New Gods, man.
Glenn brings up something interesting in the chat. There's been a small campaign on Twitter about Warner Brothers having DC movies be a separate studio like Marvel is to Disney. Any thoughts? It kind of already
100%.
is.
No, it's not.
But kind of. Not really. I agree. Not really. But it kind of already is. I mean, they do have DC films, but they're really still just Warner Brothers. Whereas, yeah, you're right. With Marvel Studios, it is Marvel Studios, and Disney just happens to own them.
Exactly.
Marvel Studios is kind of just left to do what Marvel Studios wants to do. And you know what, Glenn? I think you're really onto something there. I think things would probably be a lot better if Warner wasn't constantly grabbing their hands and everything and trying to.
They need a Feige.
Yeah,
they do. And Disney only took over Marvel, I think it was 09, 10, if I'm not mistaken. The MCU had already started by the time Disney took them over.
Yeah,
that's kind of what Disney does. Like Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Existed. Like Clone Wars was already going. They knew what they were doing on TV and film front. Like Disney is very much we're going to acquire the successful company and build on it. Whereas like with this, it's just Warner Brothers being like too controlling. They need someone where it's like you're the DC person, DC.
They need to let their filmmakers make their films.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you know what? I mean, say what you. I mean, be it a Zack Snyder fan or not. We said this last week. He had a vision. He had a plan. Whether or not you like that plan or not, it would have been a cohesive story. They should have gone with it.
I myself am not someone that is a huge fan of the interpretation that Zack Snyder had of these characters.
Agreed.
But he didn't know what he was doing with them within the story he had created.
He had a plan.
Yeah.
And this definitely wasn't, in my opinion, supposed to be a typical DC story. This was supposed to be like a weird, kind of different take on it. I mean, especially looking at the Snyder Cut now.
But if you're trying to go up against the MCU and
True.
your start with DC is the kind of DC, like, dark, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked
I
that they
totally
went,
understand that.
oh no, what did we do?
From a business standpoint, the Snyderverse didn't make sense at the time. From a storytelling standpoint, I think it does.
It should have been an Elseworlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it will work really well with that, if they go ahead and do that, like, the fans have been clamoring for. And honestly, I really think they should, because the Snyder Cut was a huge success for HBO Max. They'd be stupid
absolutely
not to do a follow-up.
What, Godzilla vs. Kong beat it.
Well, yeah, but it's also, that's
also
a brand
Avatar
new movie.
beat
It's
Endgame,
not.
so
It's a brand new movie. It's not 4 hours
I'm just
long.
saying.
But
The 4 hours, man.
But with what the Snyder Cut was, it was
totally
a
with you there.
huge success. I mean, just because something was more of a success doesn't mean that the Snyder Cut wasn't.
I'm just saying for our, like, as devil's advocate, the next movie that came out did beat it.
Yeah, but it was also supposed to be a theatrical film. Well, okay, so was the Snyder Cut. So I guess I'll back up on that one. But
here's the thing about the time thing that you mentioned, Caitlin. It was not going to work as a 2-hour movie, but I don't think it needed to be a 4-hour movie. I think 2.5, 2:45, something like that.
I don't know if it would even work with that. I think it would have been like 3.
I don't have an answer for it. I don't, like, 2 hours.
I know it wouldn't. It
we
definitely
clearly
wouldn't
see
work.
2 hours didn't work. We clearly know this. 4 hours, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Bryce, I mean, you're a huge fan.
Yeah.
You have to admit, 4 hours is a lot for someone that is not like a release the Snyder Cut person.
So for me, I loved it because I was already a DCEU fan. Besides some of the hiccups, Batman v Superman was definitely a little weak. But otherwise than that, I was really excited to see where this film was going. And so for me, 4 hours, I'll sit down, click play, and watch the whole thing all at once.
Let's back up. You also watched Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman before watching it, so you did like 8 hours or something.
I think it was 9.5. Yeah.
So you know what? I'm taking back my question. You don't get to comment on time.
No. Hold on. I was going somewhere with that. Like, for me, it's different because I'm a huge DC fan. I watched the whole trilogy in one day. I watched Man of Steel, then I watched BVS, and then I watched Justice League. Pretty much, right there in the same day, but very few breaks in between. But my neighbor, who has no idea what this is or what's going on, and it's just, a new superhero movie is out, and I happen to have HBO. Well, let's click play. Holy crap!
Exactly.
I did. We had a guest visitor in class. She's like a radio personality, and she does a bunch of articles for the radio station where she works. I don't know. I probably shouldn't disclose, but she was reviewing the Snyder Cut, and she's not a DC fan. She's just some radio. I mean, she's just writing up a review for the new superhero movie that's out.
It's just a movie.
And she had, it's a late night for her or something like that. So she's like, okay, well, I gotta watch this before work tomorrow because I gotta write this article.
Oh no.
She had no idea it was 4 hours.
Right.
So that was probably quite the long night for her. And so, there's definitely issues with the 4 hour runtime for the general audience. But for like super fans like me, of course I loved it, but
I will also say you have to be a Snyder DC fan.
Yes.
If you're someone that likes the other types of DC stuff, 4 hours is still a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm the rare breed who likes both.
Exactly.
Because it seems like it's rare. like a civil war between like you have to be a Snyder fan or not. I'm just like, well, Birds of Prey was still pretty good. You're
like, can I get everything DC? I'll be happy.
I really like
Shazam.
DC fan. So I'm really excited for the Batman. So yeah, I definitely see the issues with it being 4 hours for sure. For a general movie going person,
yeah.
I think personally, if the Snyder Cut is the reason that the New Gods is canceled, that will be one of the most disappointing outcomes to me.
I agree there.
And then, well, see, as a Snyder fan, I'm gonna have to disagree. I don't know.
No matter
I'm
what,
gonna disagree.
If it was canceled either because the Snyder they want to separate themselves from it, or because they want to do more of it. Either way, I find it to be a disappointing outcome. Not because I think it should or should not continue, but because this could have been its own thing, man.
Yes. And I will say that, because I do still want to see what the Snyderverse was going to do with that, because they need to finish that story. Especially with it being a huge success on HBO Max. Come on, but
we'll see.
Look, there's the demand is there. It.
All right, stepping
No,
away.
But hold on. One second. But I do agree with you that New Gods should still have been able to happen because they're talking about, like, we've said this at least 3-4 times already. We've been talking about the multiverse. They want to do the multiverse. They want to do all this Elseworld stuff. So why can't we have both? Same thing with the Superman stuff that's going on. You want to do a Black Superman with J.J. Abrams? I think that's cool. I like seeing different stuff like that. But still, why can't we have both? You're doing Elseworlds, multiverse, whatever. So do both. Give both fans what they want. DC is basically the multiverse comic book universe. I mean, Marvel really is more self-contained, but DC is pretty much known for the multiverse. So it really shouldn't be, this hard. I don't know.
No, DC has such a depth that they could have leaned into it. I mean, they are kind of doing that with Suicide Squad because you had the original, and then this is sort of a kind of sequel, kind of soft reboot, which again works because we don't totally know about the timeline. We don't totally know about canon. So maybe it's, like they're playing with that a little bit, which I think works. Yeah. And so I feel like they should lean into, we're going to do what we want because we're not Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one interesting question in the chat before we go on to some Suicide Squad stuff from All in the Game. Always wondered why in general people in the past were more open to different studios having access to different Marvel characters, but don't apply the same logic to DC characters. At least for me, I think just that I think that was just a different circumstance, just because Marvel had, like, they were going to go bankrupt if they didn't sell off, the characters that they sold off. I mean,
also think part of it is DC is one of these brands that is known, like, pre-MCU, DC was really the brand that you globally knew multiple characters, where Marvel, it was mostly Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, and whenever
DC definitely had that advantage.
Whenever Warner bought DC, they bought DC. They didn't buy Superman and Batman and
right. DC had never sold off, because Marvel sold off Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and everything. So DC had never done that with any specific characters.
Yeah. DC, I feel like part of the concern too would be, like, before Marvel, you didn't have this whole, like, universe, like, multiple movies falling into the same thing unless they were essentially sequel or threequel type thing. So I think part of the concern was like the Dark Knight trilogy. Everyone's like, great, they did that great. So it was less about we don't want this studio to have it, as, okay, DC, give us more stuff and you're owned by Warner Brothers. Whereas now with Marvel, it's like, we want them to have everything because we want everything to be included. And like you said before, no one cared that much because you had Sony putting out some Spider-Man stuff. You had Fox putting out some X-Men and Fantastic Four stuff. And then Marvel came up with Iron Man. You're like, oh, cool. But you didn't have this idea of a cohesive cinematic universe.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I hope DC goes back to that after The Flash. I mean, obviously, we were talking about how they would do, like, some sort of, like, team-ups every once in a while, that they kind of combine the universes for, like, some sort of multiverse battle. But DC really thrived in those times, I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy was pretty solid.
I still like it.
And pretty much ever since, things have been a little shaky. So, honestly,
Marvel just scared them.
Yeah.
They did.
So I would kind of like to see them go back to some more solo stuff, finish the Snyderverse, whatever, and then but then what after that, just do multiverse weird DC stuff. Like, that's what I want to see as a DC fan.
Lead into the weird.
Because as a DC fan, I like multiverse weird DC stuff.
There's also a reason why the Joker movie worked for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
It was character-based. DC has really interesting characters if you do them right. So lean into it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That was a great example.
And speaking of it,
go ahead.
Speaking of interesting characters, we've got one more kind of DC thing to talk about. Unless you guys have anything to add.
No, we need to move on, Richard. we need to go forward here.
We gotta get some Taika Waititi stuff in the Suicide Squad.
So sad. It looks like he's not Starro.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're still getting Taika Waititi in the Suicide Squad, which is a perfect movie for him.
100%. I just wanted a giant starfish with Taika Waititi's voice.
Did you want Taika Waititi's voice or Korg's voice?
I would take either.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. It's not completely out of the question because let's just get to the point here real quick. Pretty much in the trailer, it's presumed that Taika Waititi's character will be he will be playing Ratcatcher, the original.
In the theatrical trailer that was released a few days after the Red Band trailer, it had a scene or clip or whatever of Ratcatcher 2, right? in her cell, and there was a photo of her with someone that looked like Taika Waititi, but again, super hard to zoom in without really crappy resolution. So we can't be
super hard
100%.
to tell.
Yeah.
So we can't be 100% sure. But the assumption is that Taika is playing the first Ratcatcher.
Yeah, which I think would still be cool. I mean, obviously we still don't actually know if that's true or not, but even then, you know, let's say that Taika Waititi is playing Ratcatcher in like one flashback scene or something. You know, that still doesn't leave it out of the realm of possibility that he couldn't also voice Starro. Because I mean, you look at Deadpool 2, obviously Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, but he also played Juggernaut. You know, I mean, because I mean, you know, it's Juggernaut. I mean, he doesn't have the face of Ryan Reynolds, so I mean, he can play both characters, and it's the same thing with Star. I mean, obviously, Ratcatcher doesn't look like a giant starfish, so I mean,
like
if
how,
he uses a different voice,
Cumberbatch did Doctor Strange and Dormammu in Doctor Strange.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did the voice
is
in
actually
mocap
kind of
for
crazy.
Dormammu.
But I cannot believe I did not know that until today. But well, I just dropped something. But yeah, I think it could be possible for him to do both, if he is playing Ratcatcher. So it's still in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, and it is exciting seeing more. Like I did like the theatrical trailer. I liked the na 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 goodbye that they used. That was
great.
Really great. And we got like
a
couple little, like the Ratcatcher scene. We got like a little bit of new footage. So yes, I'm excited that Taika's in it, no matter who he's playing.
Me too.
Again, slightly disappointed if he's not a giant starfish, because what an amazing choice that would have been.
Well, I mean, Taika Waititi could be playing a fly on the wall and he'd make it work, you know? So...
The only one I think I'm as excited for Taika about is Sean Gunn as Weasel, because that is going to be hysterical.
That's definitely... Yeah, I think Sean Gunn's probably going to be typecast as a anthropomorphic rodent for... Because he's got Rocket Raccoon, at least for the...
And he's just the on-set Rocket.
Yeah, he's got Rocket Raccoon for the mocap, and now he's playing Weasel. Do you think he's just going to be typecast as anthropomorphic rodents from now on, or... Joking, of course.
Not a bad thing to be.
Joking, of course, but...
I don't know, how many are there?
Yeah, well...
Right? How much of a market is there
I don't
for
know,
that?
Space Jam's coming out here soon, maybe,
Oh, God. Well, oh, God. That's a whole other multiverse worth of ridiculous... that I could go into a whole Space Jam rant, and I'm not going to.
Let's pull back from that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I've gotten the Snyder Cut rant for today. I don't know if we can afford another rant.
I don't think we have time for Space Jam.
I don't think we have time for a Space Jam rant. That'll be for another day when that comes out.
Caitlin tried to stop me from the Snyder Cut rant, and I just barreled through it anyway, so...
Yeah, we're not going there. But regardless...
Yeah, one of the things that was cool about the theatrical trailer, too, is at the end we see Ratcatcher 2, and we have the moment of Peacemaker doing his thing, where he's like, I will kill every man, woman, and child to get peace. And her turning to Polka Dot Man going, I thought you were the crazy one, and him going, I am. And you're just like, oh, hell yes. This is amazing. I can't wait for this. Like
John Cena in a superhero movie is going to be amazing.
Well, and think about this. He's going to get his own spinoff as well, so...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, that was that moment, too, of Peacemaker being, like, Peacemaker, at first you're like, oh, okay, and then have that moment of, I'll just murder everyone, then there will be peace. You're like, technically, I guess, but
okay.
also, why?
It's kind of like a Thanos thing, honestly. Like, John Cena is the true Thanos of the DCEU.
Oh, God.
Because, I mean, his motives are kind of the same. Because Darkseid, you know, he just wants to annihilate the world just for fun. Obviously that's simplifying things quite a bit.
Very big simplification.
Yes.
What you're saying is he doesn't want to do it for peace.
Yes. Peacemaker is kind of like Thanos, where he wants to wipe out everything, so there's peace. And there is some sort of goodwill there. Obviously, he's going about it the complete wrong way. Because I mean, Thanos, he is the good guy in his story. Thanos thinks that he is the hero. And I feel like that's kind of a very similar thing that we're gonna see with Peacemaker in a weird way. Obviously, it's gonna be very different. It's gonna be a different take on it, but it's still like a sort of similar motive between the two characters.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and didn't it look like we learned Nathan Fillion's character, the TDK was arm falling off guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. These are weird ass characters.
Yeah, no.
This is gonna be a weird ass
Oh
movie,
my
and I'm all
gosh,
for
and
it.
I cannot wait. I mean, this movie. I mean, what we were talking about before with like, I just want to do DC, see DC.
This is what the
That's
DC
weird
needs to be.
DC alternate weird stuff, and this movie is
Yeah.
pretty much that. We're
All the game, the Doug Jones of CGI rodents for Sean Gunn. Yes,
Nice.
totally.
Yeah, this is definitely what
Yeah.
we're talking about with DC. It's like find a filmmaker who's gotten
Yeah.
a really good idea for a property in the DC universe, and then let him go to town.
yes,
And that
That's
is
what they did with
exactly
James Gunn.
what this
absolutely.
is. And James Gunn has some clout from Guardians where he can do it.
Mhm.
But I feel like personally, like Birds of Prey, I know some people like there's people that didn't like it. I thought it was great fun,
Yeah.
which is kind of what that's what you want from a Harley
Yes.
Quinn movie. It needs to be crazy
My-
and fun and
Yeah,
chaos.
see, I enjoyed Birds of Prey, but I feel like my brain kind of confuses my hate for the marketing for my hate because sometimes I go, yeah, Birds of Prey kind of sucked, but really it
Your
didn't.
hate for the marketing bleeded over into
Because
the movie.
it was a really good movie. It's just they marketed it terribly. Like they should have marketed it as a Harley Quinn movie that led into a Birds of Prey movie, but instead they made it Birds of Prey when the Birds of Prey really had almost nothing to do with the film except
No.
for the third act.
At the very least,
Yeah.
they needed a title that you could remember.
Yeah.
It was like 12 words. It was
Birds
ridiculous.
of Prey and the Fantabulous
Stupid.
Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I did my social media thesis or final project or whatever on the marketing of Birds of Prey, and I did like a whole 12-page report on how they should have marketed the film differently. So I've got a lot of birds. Yeah, so I have the freaking title memorized.
Hey, good for you. Good for you.
And I'm the only person on the
In the world?
Yeah, in the world that probably does because of that report I did. Because I mean, I had to write it down: the Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. And instead of calling it the Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, they should have probably called it Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey. They kind of they kind of retitled it for movie theaters. Because they called it Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey, or
I could almost see it being like Birds of Prey, and that's crossed out with marker and Harley Quinn written on top of it.
Yeah, that would have been funny, or just
that would have been good.
Or they could have
Right?
called it Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Right.
But
No, it was much more similar to Monica Rambeau's origin story in WandaVision and how that was a piece of the story.
Mhm.
That was more similar to Harley Quinn and like Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
It was Birds of
Yeah.
Prey's origin story was there.
yeah.
It was not the main story.
And which is honestly, sadly enough, because of the poor marketing, we're probably never gonna see the Birds of Prey again.
Yeah.
Because the movie
I
didn't
love
do.
that Huntress.
Yeah, the movie didn't do great financially because they
Yeah.
did a horrible job marketing the film. And those are good characters. I mean, I like the characters in the movie, but it's just, they kind of felt like they were forced to be in there for it to be a Birds of Prey movie, whenever they should have just made a Harley Quinn movie and introduced those characters for a Birds of Prey movie down the line, so they could have had a full-on focused Birds of Prey movie and fully go in on those characters.
Yeah, because that version of Huntress was crazy hilarious and
Yeah.
interesting. That version of Black Canary was super interesting because it was essentially Black Canary, like, the second.
Yeah.
And then, it was this very interesting group of characters and a really solid cast. It's just, it was not Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn.
Oh my gosh. Ewan McGregor as well as Black Mask. Holy
Ewan McGregor
crap.
killed it. That was hilarious.
Holy crap. I mean, seeing him, as Obi-Wan and then Danny and Dr. Sleep, good guy characters. It was so unbelievably weird, but fantastic to see him play a completely ruthless villain like Black Mask. And he pulled it off spectacularly. I mean, it really just shows off his acting chops. With Birds of Prey and his work on Star Wars, because I mean he can do both and he can do both well. Richard, I saw you trying to jump in with that segue there. I'll let you have it.
Speaking of Ewan McGregor, I know we went off on a crazy other tangent again, but
No, it's related. We were talking about DC's plan.
Yeah.
That actually, very appropriate because DC doesn't really have one. Anyways, Anyway, so yeah, you were mentioning the Ewan McGregor thing. Do we want to get into Star Wars stuff about the?
I'll say yeah. So there was a leaked video, like leaked TikTok, essentially like
TikTok.
leaked set footage of Obi-Wan on TikTok. Now this is unconfirmed because it's a TikTok video. So
Yeah.
But it does
like-
look awfully Tatooine-ish.
it looks like Tatooine, and you got the Cantina theme, so it feels like
Classic.
Tatooine. So
Yeah, for sure.
like, I will say if that is the Obi-Wan Kenobi set, A+, it looks awesome. I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
excited.
A plus.
For sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird though because it's like, yeah, A plus. You filmed in a desert, looks like Tatooine. I mean,
But
yeah,
the buildings
sure.
are looking good.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it looks like Tatooine. I don't.
It's also the excitement of, oh my god, it's finally happening.
Yes. Oh my
Right?
god. I mean,
It's been so long.
This show has gone through a few hiccups. I know they went through, I believe, a showrunner change or a director change or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And that really worried me.
They go through a core story change.
Oh,
'cause they're
right,
concerned
yeah,
it
they
was
completely-
too similar to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, they
I think so.
yeah, they completely changed the story of Obi-Wan. Yeah, I forgot about that. And so, yeah, I was really worried about that, especially with how the sequels were going. And I don't think Mandalorian was out yet, or if it was still brand new, and we didn't really know how awesome it was going to be.
Yeah.
But now I'm really excited, because obviously they've proven themselves with Obi-Wan. It's not the same crew as the Mandalorian, but there are some crossover there. I believe.
Well, they're using the
volume tech?
the volume. I think they're doing like real sets
think
of
so, yeah.
volume, right?
And I believe
Right.
one of the directors is directing from Mandalorian is doing an episode of Obi-Wan. Rick.
I think she's doing the whole thing.
Well, so she's the showrunner, but I believe Rick Fuma, what I don't know how to
The
pronounce
guy
his
who was
last
going to
name.
direct Flash?
Yes, the guy who's supposed to direct Flash is directing an episode as well. But yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the showrunner of Obi-Wan did direct a couple episodes of.
She did 2 episodes of the first season of The Mandalorian, and he did 2 episodes of the first season, and I think 1 or 2 of the second season.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, that definitely gets me excited that there is, people from the Mandalorian coming over, because obviously it's not going to be, in the same sort of Mandalorian universe. I mean, it's not a universe because it's all Star Wars, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, it is. It's just way in the past.
Yeah, it's still in the Star Wars universe, but, it's not going to be in the same whole, how the Mandalorian, Rangers, Ahsoka, they're all in the same, they're all being showrun, like, Jon Favreau is pretty much helming all of that.
Right.
Whereas Jon Favreau, it doesn't really have anything
It's not
to
the
do with-
Favreauverse.
Yeah. Yes, it's not. Jon Favreau doesn't really have anything to do with Andor or Obi-Wan, and it'll be interesting to see because there's the rumors of Obi-Wan showing up in Andor for some reason.
Well, we broke that.
Yeah. So
We did, yes.
Yeah. So
That makes sense to me though, because Andor is a prequel to Rogue One.
Yeah.
And so that totally tracks for me that Obi-Wan would be popping in there, because as much as Obi-Wan became a hermit, he was involved.
Well, yeah.
in what
I
was
mean,
going
I
on.
definitely believe. I definitely believe it. It's just. I'm not really seeing the connection there as of yet. I mean, I'm sure whatever they do with Obi-Wan in Andor, it'll be really cool. But
I wouldn't be surprised if it was connected to Senator Organa.
Oh, probably.
I can see them doing some stuff with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have it right there actually, because I mean, obviously, they're those two are pretty connected. They have a history.
Pretty tight.
So they're like space BFFs or whatever. They. But
because I'm assuming that Obi-Wan is gonna check on Leia in the Obi-Wan series, so I wouldn't be shocked if we had Organa pop up in some capacity, be it
for sure.
in person, voice, mention, whatever.
Do we know if Bail Organa is going to be in Andor?
I'm assuming so, because he's very important in the Rebellion.
I mean, I assume so too. I just didn't know if that was confirmed.
I think we know that Mon Mothra is going to be in it.
That's cool. Okay.
And she is also a senator. We see her kind of lose that title in Rebels, and so I'm not sure where in that timeline this will take place, because it feels like Star Wars is like, I don't see them not connecting that timeline, because we already have characters from Rebels popping into the live action. So I don't see them going, oh, that doesn't count. So depending on where in the timeline it sits, we know it's a prequel, but is it like essentially leads into Rogue One in the finale? Is it years earlier? I'm not 100% sure on that. So Bail Organa popping up in some capacity in either area would make sense to me, and him being kind of the connective tissue with Obi-Wan would make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm assuming with Obi-Wan showing up in Andor, that means that whatever happens in Andor with Obi-Wan will lead in to the Obi-Wan show. So it's gonna be, interesting to see what that is. How they're going to connect the
Obi-Wan
two.
would take place before Andor.
Really? That's interesting.
I would think so, because Andor it's during the rebellion and all that stuff, and we know that Andor, like, what's his name? Cassian Andor, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Sorry. He was a kid, and like when the rebellion started, so like we're gonna be down the line in a little bit. Okay. And I think Obi-Wan's like right after Revenge of the Sith, isn't it? Or
I heard it's between episodes 3 and 4, yeah.
But that's like a pretty big gap.
Well, that's
so,
I
think it's closer to Revenge of the Sith. Well, it has to be close to Revenge of the Sith because it's Ewan McGregor.
And
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I could see it almost being where he pops in and it relates to the stuff that's going on in Obi-Wan. Maybe it's like, oh, he's going to be involved in the rebellion. Oh, he's checking on Leia. We don't, like, or maybe it's him, like, kind of figuring stuff out in regards to Luke, because I'm very sure he knew Luke was going to grab the lightsaber. It's not like he didn't know that was happening.
Well, I will say this about it being, because it's Ewan McGregor. I mean, we saw in The Mandalorian Season 2, they just made Luke Skywalker come out of thin air. So, I mean, it's definitely possible that they could age him to make him look like Alec Guinness at some point, if they wanted to, at some point in the show.
I will say all in the game, Rick Famu.
Yes, I was having trouble with that. Yeah.
Thank you, all in the game. And yes, Deborah Chow is the one that's doing Obi-Wan. And yeah, both of them worked on the volume. Okay. I think that'd be very cool if he did Armor Wars.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think he'd be great.
I could totally see him do that. They don't have any showrunners yet, so.
Mm-hmm. Or he could do something with Samuel L. Jackson's Star Wars character.
Mace Windu?
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be.
I wouldn't mind some Mace Windu stuff.
I mean, there's definitely been all the theories out there that Mace Windu is still kicking around somewhere. So, I mean, I think a Mace Windu series would be really cool.
I mean, the fact that he's played by Samuel L. Jackson should mean that,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think if it was like before the prequels and we were seeing more of like the Jedi Council falling to crap, or it does turn out he's alive. Either way, that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Obi-Wan is I don't know if it's my most anticipated because I'm so excited for Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's up there for me.
But I'm really excited to get back into, like, I want to see what Obi-Wan was doing. They kind of set up at the end of Clone Wars where Yoda kind of told him how to learn to do the Force Ghost thing. Spoilers if you're not.
It's been a year.
Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard.
Sorry, Richard. It's been a year.
I will see it eventually. I'll probably forget it by tomorrow anyway. Don't worry.
But they do set that up, so I'm curious to see if we're going to see anything with that. I assume we're going to see some stuff with him, not necessarily interacting with Luke, but keeping some sort of eye out. We know there's going to be something with Luke's aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we've got all of these new characters, one of which teased that they're going to be doing some lightsaber stuff. So is that an Inquisitor? Is that another Jedi on the run?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of questions with that. And I think Kessel Run said something about Cody popping up in this, Commander Cody.
Awesome.
So that, to me, again, would hint at this being closer to Revenge of the Sith than A New Hope.
Well, it depends. Like, if they're getting Tamora Morrison to play him, I mean, that would have to be an older Cody.
You're assuming he's going to take off the helmet.
Well, that's true. Well, and then also I could go back to my logic, and they would just de-age him, like they did with Luke. So yeah. I mean, yeah, they could do a multitude of things with that.
Yeah.
Whatever they do, Obi-Wan's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and we're finally getting some movement on it.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
For sure.
And I'm excited to go back to Tatooine. I really liked when we went back to Tatooine in The Mandalorian. the season 2 premiere where we were there was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
So if we get to explore more of the planet as a whole, that'll be really exciting. If we can get into the crime stuff with Jabba the Hutt, if we can get into...
What if we got a Jabba the Hutt Disney Plus show?
Wow.
That would honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, it would have to be more of, like, his crime gang than...
Yeah, the crime syndicate.
Yeah.
Well, we found out in the Clone Wars that there was a Hutt family syndicate, so it'd be cool to see
I do know that. I have seen that part, so don't worry about that.
I hope so. It's like the first episode.
Yeah, it's like the movie, isn't it? So
yeah, that is in the movie. But no. But the Hutt stuff was actually pretty good in Clone Wars.
And I feel like a lot of that's going to be kind of explored in the Book of Boba Fett as well, because he takes over. So
that would be really interesting too, if we saw kind of where Tatooine's criminal syndicate is in the Mandalorian time versus where it was in Obi-Wan. That would be very interesting.
Well, and which the Book of Boba Fett is the next Star Wars thing we're gonna get. That's gonna be like December this year.
Next Star Wars live action, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, because the Bad Batch.
Bad Batch next month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it premieres Star Wars Day, May the 4th.
Yep.
So that is our next. But yes, the next big live action is the Book of Boba Fett, and that also it seems will be taking place on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're getting a lot of Tatooine, folks.
That's good Star Wars up ahead.
Yeah, Tatooine is definitely a favorite planet.
Yeah. It's where it all started, so.
I'm also having the moment of, why didn't you just use the Boba Fett set?
Well,
right.
Maybe they are. I mean they could be. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it could be making adjustments.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But so we're finally getting movement on Obi-Wan. We're very excited for it. We can't wait to see Ewan McGregor come back, because you can tell he's excited.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been wanting to do this for years.
And I know it was just in a TikTok video, but we have to get the Cantina Band music again.
Yeah.
Somehow.
100%. That's one of my favorite.
Classic.
Like, Star Wars has just phenomenal music as is.
Yeah.
But that was just loads of fun. That's like that moment of that thing where you want to walk into the cantina and hear it.
I just watched the Family Guy parody episode of that from the episode 4-1 recently, and there's like, play that same song again. Okay, here we go. That's one of my favorite parts.
That kind of reminds me of the Lego game, where it's just like the background music is just like constantly on loop, and then it ends and then it just starts right back up again. Like whenever you're in like the main lobby area.
Totally.
Oh man.
But yeah, we got some good Star Wars stuff to look forward to.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, because Marvel's killing it, and now they're gonna have this like Star Wars verse that's killing it.
Yeah.
DC's got to get on the bandwagon.
Right? Catch up, guys.
Yeah,
seriously.
I agree. Yeah.
Playing catch up as always.
So, well, guys, is that gonna wrap up today's episode? You guys think?
I think that just about does it.
Major stuff. Sadly, we don't have more Star Wars news.
Right.
But hopefully we will soon.
It's few and far to come by, but whenever we get it, we always love talking about it here on the show.
For sure.
But,
Bad Batch is coming in a few weeks, so.
Yes, and I will say, if you guys in the chat ever have a big Star Wars thing you do want us to talk about in this,
please let us know.
Star Wars drought, we are more than happy to hear it.
Sure.
Absolutely, we love talking to you guys in the chat. So
anytime there's kind of a drought in any of them, I'm gonna kind of take Marvel out of that because they seem pretty full for a while.
I think we're gonna be good on Marvel for a couple of years here.
I think we're gonna be good on Marvel until
maybe
the end of time. At least until I die.
The only drought I could possibly see in the near future is between Falcon the Winter Soldier and Loki, because it doesn't seem like there's going to be much besides probably the assembled show.
Is that really a drought though? Like a couple weeks?
That's just in canon, because Falcon Winter Soldier ends at the end of April. Loki comes on June 11th. Yeah. So we'll have a few weeks without anything canon, but I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about either way.
I'm sure that's when they'll start releasing stuff like the Shang-Chi trailer. They're not going to let Star Wars take their spotlight. Come on.
Yeah, they're not going to let anybody take their spotlight.
But yeah, if ever we have a light week on DC or Star Wars, or for some reason that we can't think of Marvel, we would love to have you guys like either throw things out that you have questions about, or just topics that you would like to hear our opinions on, or share your own thoughts.
I will say this though, I mean,
love all three.
Star Wars has been kind of we haven't talked about it a lot on the show, since the show came out, but in between Obi-Wan, Falcon and Loki is the Bad Batch, so we will be able to
That'll help out
cover
a lot, for sure.
cover that on the show here. So that will pretty much take up our a lot of our time here, because that'll be the show that we have to talk about, because there won't be Marvel.
Definitely.
So
I am curious how many episodes Bad Batch is, and if it's going to overlap with Loki.
Yeah,
it's going to be weird to see, because especially with what you mentioned about the premiere being like 70 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing I'm curious about on the Marvel front too is, what are they going to do about Loki and Black Widow overlapping? Because we assume Loki's going to be 6 episodes again. Yeah. Which means it's definitely gonna overlap with Black Widow.
I think Black Widow comes out on what would be Loki's 5th or
Fourth
something.
4th or 5th, yeah, because
really
Widow comes out on July 9th and Loki comes out
19.
on June 11th.
19. Yeah. 19.
I thought it was 9th. Let me check. Give me 2 seconds. I'll check.
But to that point, I don't really know if they need to do anything, because I mean, both of which are going to be on Disney Plus. Technically, with Premiere Access, I can go on a whole nother 30-minute rant on that. But
right.
both of which are going to be. So right. I mean, you can watch it. You can just sit at home and watch it. I mean, if you're going to go see Black Widow at the theater, you can go home, watch Loki, or watch Loki before. I mean, you can watch Loki whenever. You can watch Loki the next day. You can watch Loki the next week, the year from now. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I mean, that's the thing about Disney Plus, is that you don't have to watch it whenever it comes out. It's not a normal TV show where it's on at 7. I gotta go check it out.
Right,
I mean,
for sure.
So I mean, you can. Correct. It is July 9th, right, Richard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, or if you guys are like Richard and Caitlin, you can watch it as soon as at the moment it comes out, at midnight.
It drops. Internet pending.
Yeah. But
did they move the episode up? I didn't think they had The Mandalorian come out other than Fridays. When did they have it go up earlier?
It was all only in the on Fridays, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah, I think it was the first episode whenever the service launched. It was a Wednesday.
Oh. Well,
I
think that had more to do about the service launch, similar to how Bad Batch is coming out on May 4th, which is a Tuesday, and then has the next episode that following Friday, and then subsequent Fridays.
Yeah, it's probably
I will say I wouldn't be shocked if Disney Plus was overlapping Loki with the Bad Batch, because the Bad Batch is animation.
I just realized now that we got to make sure to watch the Bad Batch the day of to cover that night, because that's on a Tuesday.
So sure. The first one at least.
And that's so long. I don't know how I'm going to do that, because
I'd be more surprised if you had something like Loki and Boba Fett overlapping. Oh, they said Rise of Skywalker. Again, that's not shocking to me, not just because that seems
I didn't know. I didn't realize that. Okay.
That seems like marketing related.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe it won't be as big of a deal as we think.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think that an animated Star Wars show is necessarily going to have the same concern of competition with a live-action Marvel show as a live-action Star Wars show would with a live-action Marvel show.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a live-action Marvel show with a live-action Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's not super weird to me necessarily, because it's a movie. You see it day of, or you see it 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And plus, we're just in terms of all this, we're in such new territory with this whole streaming thing, because the streaming world has only really been a thing, in Disney Plus's case, for 18 months or so.
Yeah.
So, and especially now with this Premiere Access thing, it's gonna be really interesting going forward. But something to look forward to nonetheless.
Also, what a problem to have. We have too much content coming out at the same time.
Oh yeah. Especially for Marvel, it's just it's disgusting how much. We have to...
Disgustingly good, yeah.
I have to watch Star Wars and Marvel new content at the same time. I have to watch a new Loki episode and the Black Widow movie at the same time. My life is so difficult. We are no way complaining. We are just spitballing logistics of our thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just logistics at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, with that being said, Richard, Caitlin, do you guys have anything to plug or say before we wrap up today's episode?
We've obviously got... You go. I'm going to shut up.
Join us Thursday for the next Marvel Watch Along with episode 4 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It will be Richard, TC Does Comics, who is also on it with us, Braxter Timberlake, who commented in our chat earlier, and Richard. Very excited. Hope we get to see more John Walker. Hope we get to see more Power Broker. Hope we get to see more of the billions of characters apparently that are going to be in this show. And then Richard has his other Marvel show.
Yeah, so we've got I forgot the name of my own damn show for a second.
How could you forget New Cap Recap?
One.
Yeah, the MCU's post-credits recap show, New Cap Recap.
How could you forget?
Unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties last week with some mechanical stuff, but I'll be back this week. I'll actually be doing both of the last two episodes, episode 3 and 4 for this weekend. But I'm back, and we will be looking forward to that, so you can catch post-credits this weekend.
With new headphones.
With new headphones.
With new headphones, folks.
Yeah, with headphones that I didn't break, which is going to be awesome.
So far.
Yep, and then you can.
Damn it.
Sorry.
You just had to go there, Caitlin.
You said you didn't break them. You jinxed yourself. That's not on me.
Well.
Anyway, catch that show this weekend, whatever.
Yep, and we got plenty of other shows to choose from here as well on the Illuminerdi. Be sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications. We've got plenty of Power Ranger shows for you to choose from. We got Ranger Wrap Up, Retro Ranger Wrap Up, Sentai Wrap Up, Retro Sentai Wrap Up. I'm on the Retro Sentai Wrap Up, so if you want to see more of me, be sure to check out the Retro Sentai Wrap Up Sundays at 12 Pacific Standard Time. And
be sure to tune in specifically to see if he can connect Power Rangers to Snyderverse.
Oh.
Yep.
I would not be shocked.
Me neither.
And and we also got Star Trek show, wrestling show. We've got something for pretty much everybody. So be sure to subscribe, turn on those post notifications to be notified of everything that comes on here to the Illuminerdi channel. Also be sure to follow us on social media. I've got our @ on Twitter down in the description below if you want to follow us. And yeah, I think that's going to pretty much conclude today's episode of It's All Connected. Thank you all so much for
catch us here again next week.
Yep.
With It's All Connected.
Yep.
For another round of craziness.
Let's make sure to plug the show we're on right now.
That's a good point.
We've never actually plugged this very show. I just realized that.
Yep. Nope. Caitlin is right. We have never plugged our own show on this show, I believe. So good on you. But yes.
Tune in next week to It's All Connected.
Yes. Yep. Tune in next week, and remember, here on the Illuminerdi, we're always watching.
At least somebody is.